Tony Dunn. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Holy moly. What a new year, a new day, a new vision, and the C3 Panthers Podcast intro worked after two weeks of not working mysteriously, no changes. Holy cow. It's like a ray of sunshine coming in through the clouds. Frank Reich.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, he delivers his vision for the future of the Carolina Panthers. That's tonight's C3 Panthers Podcast, the longest running Panthers podcast on the internet. Every Tuesday night at 9 p.m., we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. Jump in the car, folks. The car's turned into bus. The bus is turned into a caravan. We're riding to Bank of America and coming home talking shit both there and on the way. I feel like we're celebrating at this moment potentially a solid direction. I feel good about the captain of the ship. Finally, someone who is authentic and not a fraud. My name's Tony Dunn, and I'm here with my wheelman, Cody Lashney. How are you doing, my friend?
Tony Dunn, I'm doing good. This is my second time podcasting today.
Killed it.
Did a live reaction to Frank Reichs' press conference. I'm seeing a lot of the same people in the chat room that we didn't hear earlier. Man, we definitely appreciate y'all. And yeah, Frank Reich laid out his vision for the future of the Carolina Panthers. I'm excited. You're excited. It has us rethinking what we feel about David Tepper, about Scott Fitterer, just about this organization in general. Hope springs eternal, Tony Dunn. And you know what? We're going to share all this hope and good feeling and positivity and keep pounding attitude with the best damn Panther fans in all of YouTube. You already know them and love them. We got our man Joey the Blind Panther Esquivel, Craig Cartner, David Screws, Dimitri Contos, G. Bithouse, Hemlock, Levi Warren, Lynn Leonhardt, Matt Knows Nothing, Michael Davis, Padwan Panther, Panther Nicole, Patty Grimes, Salesman, Shane Falco, Sean Butler, Smell Like Blue, William Taylor, and Tim Estes. Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, bro. We got a brand new head coach. Let's roll.
CK, today I learned what a real NFL football guy was in comparison to a guy who was a football guy, but not an NFL football guy before. Frank Reich, from top to toe, from tippy top to bottom toe, has been steeped in the NFL, and you can feel it. There is no fluff. There is no bullshit. It is straight on point. And I tell you, man, I'm ready to be part of the cult that we're going to create this year, the C3 cult. We're making a difference this year, and it's starting hot. It's starting optimistic. And boy, I don't know. This guy is a player's dude. He's a real deal. Real deal.
Sure. I mean, I think that there's a lot to be optimistic about. I think, he said a lot of the things that we've wanted our team to be for a while. And to be fair, I mean, Matt Rhule had a decent opening press conference as well. And so I'm not ready to jump on board simply because of, one press conference. However, I will say that I'm just based on what I've heard, there were a couple of things. There's some tea leaves you can read between, or however you want to look at the press conference. But the one thing that stuck out to me was he said, you want to do the 14 play drives, but you can't rely on that. That can't be what your identity is, because it isn't going to work. We saw that last year or this past season. right? We wanted to be this like 14 play, 7-minute drive, and it would happen every now and
Top
again.
five defense every year in, year out.
Yeah,
The
right.
15 to 12 Panthers to the Seahawks games that we watched for years. Yes, ideal, but not what happens on a weekly basis.
Right. And so, you know, I love that he did come in with a mindset of, you know, we know what we've done in the past, and we know we can't sustain any really true level of success if we're going to be approaching our offense that way. We've got to be able to have a top 5 defense, but also have an offense that keeps them off of the field. You can't have what happened against San Francisco and the Eagles, where, you know, they have a really good defense, but there's only so long that they were going to be able to hold up.
You have to be able to win games when the circumstances turn out to be less than ideal.
Yes.
If it was ideal, we wouldn't play the games, right? If it was just what the paper said it was, we would just simulate the suckers. But what did Mike Tyson say? Everybody's got a plan till you get punched in the mouth.
Punch in the face. That's it.
You know,
That's
and
it.
so that is the thing, is you want to be a team that has a great defense. You want to be, and he said those things. Let's just not, but you need to be able to be a team that can win under any circumstances.
Yeah.
When your defense, look, think about what happened with San Francisco. What did they say on the broadcast over and over? As you're down to Christian McCaffrey being the quarterback, the defense is going to have to win that game if you have a chance. Like, you have to be able to win games sometimes where your defense wins the game, your offense wins the game. It cannot be an ideal circumstance where you're always winning and the defense is always stuffing. Look, I just felt like this. Frank Reich, I think it's going to resonate very, very well with NFL players, because there's no bullshit. There was no fluff. There was no extra. It was just this is how you actually do it. What do you got to do? You have to be great at everything. You have to be nimble. You have to be able to adjust. Frank Reich, I'm going to go out and say this right now, and I'm not big on taking the crazy takes, you know, because you guys were talking about on the live show today, Cody, about kind of being cautious. Not you. Our friend John said, is like, you don't want to get, as a content creator, you don't want to get burned either. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that might make you conservative in some cases. I'm going to say this is Frank Reich, best hire of this offseason for any NFL team. Like the gym.
I'm down. I'm
ready to say, I think Sean Payton, you give too much. We'll talk about that. There's all of these other. I think Frank Reich is a fairway shot down the middle, but not just a layup, a good shot.
Right.
A good shot down the fairway. I'm very happy. We've got a lot of good things, but I don't think they are just window dressing. I think there's a lot of good framework to build off of this. I've got a lot of things to say about Frank Reich's press conference, and we hope you do too. The number is 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. When we want to get your thoughts on your first impressions of Frank Reich, some of the discussions that are going around the league, Sean Payton going to the Denver Broncos, D'Amico Ryans to the Houston Texans. How does this relate to the Carolina Panthers hire? And what did you think about some of the questions when it comes to Scott Fitterer and David Tepper and the relationship of how Frank Reich will fit in? Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you believe it? Are you cautiously optimistic? My name's Tony Dunn. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast. Cody, Lasty, let's jump in.
Let's do it, man. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. And first of all, we have to give thanks to the patron saints of the C3 Panthers podcast. You know him and love him. It's Michael Davis. He said, for the first time in 4 years, I'm not pissed about paying for my tickets. NFC South is wide open next year. I can't wait. Thank you, Michael, for that $35 love bomb. We certainly appreciate you, brother. Everybody's feeling pumped. Everybody's feeling excited. Man, Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it. Let's roll. Frank Reich finally had his first introductory press conference as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers And he says the vision is clear. Create a consistency of excellence. The top is championships. The bottom end
is playoff.
is where playoff team. This man is talking about winning football games. And of course, why wouldn't he talk about that? Anyone would talk about that.
You should. You should. This is interview fodder.
Right. But with a person like Frank Reich, with the pedigree that he has, with the history that he has, I'm sorry, I'm inclined to believe him. This reads like much more than just speak, in my humble opinion. And I really do think that he has a vision for how he wants to build the Carolina Panthers. And a lot of things were mentioned in today's podcast. Like I said, I reacted to it live today. He talked about the quarterback position and wanting a quarterback that can run.
He's very open. He's a very open-minded guy. He's very flexible.
And you know what, man? The fact that he is so open makes me even more optimistic in the future that we're not going to be fed a line of BS like we had for us all the time when Matt Rhule was the head coach. Nothing felt genuine. Nothing felt like it came from a place of honesty. It all felt like coach talk. And
it was window dressing.
And I don't get that feel from Frank Reich. He's very forthright in the kind of team that he wants to build. He said that there are 5 traits of being great. He said toughness is number 1.
Number 2, this one's awesome. I love this.
Number 2 is accelerated vision, slowing the game down for yourself. You hear this a lot. Quarterbacks, when they're rookies, going into their second year.
Game too fast.
Yeah.
You know what I really like about this, Cody, is what I love about this point right here is so many times we describe things in the negative. And when I say the negative is like what we don't want it to be. So when you say you want the game to slow down, it's a negative statement. What he's actually saying is you want your processing to speed up, which I think is a positive statement. Is like, that's a way to actually get the game to slow down. The other way is like, oh, the game, these guys are playing fast. The game has slowed down for them. No, they have sped up. I like this positive. This is how you achieve it. I know it's a small thing, but I made a difference for the way.
It's a very big thing. And considering that we're wanting Frank Reich for his ability to work with quarterbacks, this is maybe the most important one on this entire list.
But do you know I mean, yes, you're right about that, which you're right. But he also used it to how defensive players approach the game, how people were lined up in their stance. It was, yes, I think on its face, what we want to say is like, hey, all the great quarterbacks. Look, Joe Burrow right now, they say he's processing the game faster than anybody. Right, Patrick Mahomes. Some people say this is Patrick Mahomes sees it so fast he doesn't read defenses. He just like knows, like he just like is like a data, intuition. Like it just comes in like a supercomputer, and he just outputs what to do.
For all my Dragon Ball nerds, he has that ultra instinct, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like they got to make an extra category for him, right? But he didn't, and I know we go to the quarterback with that. But I think his example in his press conference was like something like how an offensive lineman or a D lineman was lined up and how you line up against them. Like how that stance dictates potentially what a tell is. So I like how he's not just exclusively thinking quarterback.
Yeah, but again, though, I do like how this does. You can contribute it to the quarterback position. And to me, also says, having such a clearly defined, deeply entrenched game plan that is so well rehearsed in practice as well, that you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing. You know exactly where your guys are supposed to be. Yeah,
any scenario, you are ready. This is like Luke Kuechly-ness.
Yes,
like if you 100%. Could term it as like that is if we were going to name the characteristic on the game, it would be your Kuechly-ness rating.
Absolutely. Number 3, he says footwork, which again, you can kind of copy and paste these all to the quarterback, but for everyone, how you line up, the stance that you line up in.
Right.
He really made it a point to talk about the attention details and how the small things are going to be what's
Good on
putting you
good.
over the edge consistently.
He used good on good.
Absolutely.
He said this, and this is right. This is what I love about pro football versus college. I know you guys like Cody, you love college.
Mhm.
The one thing I'm always suspicious about college football, though, is like when you see great players on a college football field, they look better because some of the very good players around them, though, are ultimately average. And they just look so fast, so whatever. And comparison to those guys, they are fast. They are running fast. But a 4.4 in the NFL versus a 4.4 in college football are different because the linemen run 4.5s or 4.6s or whatever it is. Right. And when he used the term good on good, everybody's fucking good. It's the 1% of 1%. How do you separate yourself? You know? And even something to the effect of, he said this, technique is like, hey, we have to, on those plays, you're both good. The person that did it more fundamentally sound wins that individual battle. Accelerated vision wins that battle. And we know toughness in the NFL, everybody's fighting to the end. And these 4 and 5s are the real things. These are the Mahomeses. This is the Mahomes factor.
Yeah.
It's just the thing that gets it done.
Right.
Yeah. Playmaking, and having that X factor, meaning you have something inside of you that is innate. Not everyone
we saw
else.
It with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, not everyone else just has it. You can either make the play or you can't. And having is that can
or you do make the play or you don't. It's not whether you can or can't. It's whether you do or don't.
Right. And
everybody can make those plays. It's just, is it 2 minutes and you score a touchdown, or is it 2 minutes and you go 3 and out? You know?
Absolutely. And I was very impressed with Frank Reich. Hey, let me welcome this man to the stream, the Stat Daddy, the Bat Daddy. What's up, brother? How you doing?
What's going on, man? I'm doing pretty well. Sorry I'm a little late, y'all. Honeydew list gets big on the days off, so I wanted to go ahead and knock that out and finish that stuff up.
It's okay. We're going to cover you with the comments as your punishment. We're here talking about the Frank Reich press conference. And before we get into the details of it, Cody, one thing I want to bring up is, or ask, did you guys notice any differences between this press conference and the way it was presented and Matt Rhule's press conference? One of the things that comes to mind is that David Tepper, not the primary introductory speaker when it comes to this. Anush, what's it? Is it Anish?
Yeah, Anish.
What a great voice, man! He's got pipes like awesome. You, Stiko. His pipes are golden. But did you guys, or was it only me who was juxtaposing the presentation of this moment? And not just like how the Panthers presented it, but how everyone carried themselves. Did you guys notice any difference? It stood out to me when it comes to the Matt Rhule thing or press conference.
I don't know if I would say I noticed any differences. It's been a while since I watched Matt Rhule's introductory.
I remember it like yesterday.
So much so that I'm trying to wipe it from my memory banks completely. Like, I don't want to hear Matt Rhule. I don't want to see Matt Rhule. I don't want to fucking think about Matt Rhule. So to me, I don't know. Did you?
We have to. How can you not think about you? You have to juxtapose him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's only one comparison right now, and that's the guy who was there before.
Right.
I hear you. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what
it stood out to me.
What did you notice? What was the difference between Matt and Frank Reich's introductory?
All right. So number one.
Let us know.
Okay. Yeah. At the end of the day. Well done. At the end of the day. Number one is David Tepper took a secondary role, or maybe even a third or a fourth role in this. Just a third. What he did is he had someone else do the introduction, and maybe they had somebody, but I don't remember. I just remember David Tepper being more of a voice, more of a player in that moment, right? Is really excited about this. Like, I made the great hire, this and that. The other thing that I would say is that the players were part of this. The players were front and center. And I know that they laid and leaned heavy into Frank Reich's history with the Carolina Panthers, which they should. And it really, because it is meaningful for him. I mean, the fact that his family truly lives here, it shows that they're not just overblowing the connection between the Carolinas and him. It's like, it's not like, oh, he played for us for a game. Here, we found this connection. I mean, there really is some sort of meaning to it. I feel like this is that Tepper knows he got burned. Tepper knows he got fooled. Tepper knows that he flirted with the girl that had the short skirt on and batted her eyes at the bar, but was really no personality, no substance, dead leg. And you know what? I think he stepped back from this moment on purpose and potentially to avoid questions and criticisms about Steve Wilks, maybe could be part of that. But I just felt like there was this felt like a grown-up press conference, while the last one felt like, maybe it's just hindsight, but a fraud.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're kind of pointing out in the chat, and that's the way I was kind of thinking of with David Tepper. You think about him with the first hire, it's like a new rich person. He's got a bunch of money, he's going to flaunt it, and you flaunt that money, and then all of a sudden you get robbed. Now he's a little more careful, keeps it a little closer to the chest, and maybe he's not going to try to take as much credit for it because he knows that it could come back as a failure. He was so confident it was going to come back and be a win last time.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard to look at a lot of differences between these because while I like Frank Reich better than Matt Rhule, I still don't know what the future is going to be with him. And it's going to be a lot of coach speak.
It's going to be gorgeous.
Like, it's going to be coach speak regardless.
It's not, Greg. It's not.
Yeah, I disagree. I feel like, and I said this earlier,
like, you have to say the right thing. Greg is right, though. You have to say the right things. Like, you can't come out there and be like, fuck y'all, I don't want to do a press conference. It has to be
I believe in Reich more than I do.
But there's a difference between when Frank Reich says something versus when Matt Rhule says something. Frank Reich has the pedigree and ability to say those things. And you know that it makes sense because he's done this before. He does have a high level of success in the NFL, which is something that Matt Rhule never had. And then Matt Rhule brought all of his coaching with him from college to the NFL. So there was a complete and utter lack of NFL talent on the Carolina Panthers coaching staff that made it all the more disingenuous, I feel like.
Let me tell you this, as I made a list, guys. I watched part of the show, your live stream today, which was fantastic. By the way, thank you for all the people that tuned in and participated in that. You had people jumping in. We had John Ellis come in there. Man, like, great. A great show. So thank you, Cody, for being there. I was at work, and, I did tune in while I was watching. But I tried to make, as I was watching the press conference, which I watched after your live stream. So I tried to go and watch the press conference and put away what I saw people talking about and just say, I'm going to watch this press conference and draw my own, hopefully with as least possible influence from outside noise to look at, or what to be happy about, or what to be sad about. And the first thing that stuck out to me, and this is, I guess, going back to a difference between the Matt Rhule era and maybe his initial press conference and the Frank Reich one, is that I felt like from the get-go, Frank Reich was comfortable enough with himself, was confident enough with his abilities to where his ego did not need to be part of it or to get in the way. And the way I thought about it was this, is he talked about players, the team, and we. He didn't talk about me. is it felt like this but I think there's a certain confidence you have to have when you're at this stage or at this moment, to where I always tell my kids is that if you try to be cool, you ain't cool. You're either cool or you ain't. If you're trying to be cool, you ain't cool. And I felt like Frank Reich didn't have to try to be cool. Like, he didn't have to make this moment about him. He knew that he was capable enough to execute, or I think confident enough. And here is the moment that I really, at first, not the first moment, the first of many moments that kind of set in for this. David Tepper comes up there and he says, "Oh, Anoush, you stole half of my speech. We're happy to be here. Let me get out of here before I say something wrong like I have every other time I've been on the mic for the last year and a half, right?
He's learning.
Right?
He's
Like,
finally
he's like,
learning.
I gotta get out. Like, he didn't even want to go up there. You could see he was like, I didn't think.
Now,
he
Tony,
to
be fair, he did answer questions to the media a little bit wrong. Yeah, he did.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he did his own.
Well, good for him. Good for him. I just felt like this is, and I'm actually trying to compliment him for that. Is get out of your own way sometimes. Get out of your own way. But here's the thing: is Frank Reich went up there and shook David Tepper's hand. Remember, you saw it. David Tepper goes, "Do you want to go this way or you go that way?" Frank Reich says, "I'll come to you. Let's shake your hand." But then he didn't walk up the steps. He walked all the way back to the players and shook every one of their hands. And he made that moment about them, not him.
Yeah.
And I felt like this is that I really felt this. I think it's a confidence thing, guys. I don't think I'm trying to say like, oh, he's like, oh, I'm going to make this all about y'all. I'm not trying to say he's like trying to kiss up. I think when you're comfortable enough in your own skin that you don't have to make it about you.
Yeah.
That's my first takeaway.
And you know what? So just to back off of what you just said, and yes, this is one of the differences between Matt Rhule's press conference and Frank Reich's press conference, is there were players there and they were front and center. Those players included Jeremy Chin, Marquise Haynes, Ikem Ekwonu, Taylor Moton, Ted Jackson, and Brady Christensen still in the boot on a Neely scooter in the front row. And what's even better about that, Tony,
sucking up, man. The Christensens are the best at their own PR, bro.
I love Christensen.
Wasn't Chuba Hubbard there? I swore I saw Chuba Hubbard was there.
Maybe he was. I don't know. This list might be a little incomplete, but
yeah, I think I heard someone mention that too.
Yeah, but one of the things that really stood out to me, not only so right when they introduced Frank Reich, the first thing that he does, instead of going up right on stage to start talking, he
goes and shakes their hands.
He goes and the players and shakes each and every one of their hands. It was way out of his way too, guys. It was out of his way, because if you look at the way that Tepper was coming off, the way he went up, Tepper said this way or that, and Reich said, "I'll come to you," shook his hand, and then could have walked up 2 steps to his right and just beelines it back to the players. And then look, not only did he start his press conference that way, but the first people that he talks to as soon as the press conference is over is all his players.
His ego's not going to be a problem, bro.
You see him right here talking to Ikem Ekwonu, talking to Jeremy Chin. And a lot of these things, this is leadership stuff. Now, okay, and maybe if you're Bat Daddy, maybe you say, "Oh, well, he knows the cameras are there. He's hamming it up."
No, you have to be fair to Greg.
I don't want to be skeptical. This looks like
you have to do the right things. We can't be mad at people for doing the right things, right? It's like you have to shake the right people's hands. You got to kiss the babies if you're a politician.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This signals to me that Frank Reich knows where his bread is buttered. He knows.
He said it. He said this is a players' league, bro.
He's going to live and die as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers on what the Panthers players feel and think about him. How many times last year did we talk about the difference between what Matt Rhule gets out of the Carolina Panthers players versus what Steve Wilks was able to get out of the Panthers players. If you're able to motivate your team to play for you, that's a leader, that's a leader of our football team.
And you don't motivate people through fakeness. You don't motivate people with PowerPoints. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a PowerPoint. I mean, but what I'm saying is this is, and I tell my students this all the time, is that while you may not know a ton about early American history, which we are talking about in my classes, or you may not have a lot of experience in academics, like higher academia, you do know how to smell bullshit.
Yeah.
18-year and the idea is that while kids may not be nuanced enough to tell you exactly what is wrong, they know when it's fake. They do. And real motivation in my classroom comes through authentic excitement, authentic commitment, right? Is that that really it like Steve Wilks, and I hate to bring up Steve Wilks in this moment because sadly he's not the man who got the job, is he said, I'm not here to be your buddy. I'm here to be your friend. Right. And so there is an authenticity that came off right away with Frank Reich's press conference that just felt like I do think that the players will appreciate it. They will respect it. And go into the next part about it, I guess, continuing with that mantra of the players or his ability to work. This is where I got not a me thing. I'm telling you, I do not think that his ego is going to be a problem. And he just came from a organization where their owner is more fucking bizarre than ours. Right? Like, I mean, is that if you guys want to go and talk about how David Tepper is the problem and this or that, imagine what Colts fans are saying about Irsay, right? And the Chris Ballard, who is a power guy, he was able to work with them. And this is where I was very excited, guys. Not only was he making this about the players, he said right away, I'm going to fit perfect with Scott Fitterer. I'm ready to go to work with him. And I want to bring back this to you guys. When we hired Scott Fitterer, David Tepper, they let go of Marty Herney. Matt Rhule was part of that process. There was division among Tepper and Matt Rhule about who that guy should have been. And what we inherited with Scott Fitterer, I truly believe was not Matt Rhule's pick. He said this, is that, look, David Tepper continues to say, it's like, we got a, separation of powers. But if you go back and look at Matt Rhule's press conference,
right
after Scott Fitterer was hired, it was mild, measured, and distant. And I felt like today's press conference with Frank Reich freed Scott Fitterer. It breathed life into him. It breathed confidence into him, CK. I think what I wrote about him is that he works well with others.
What I felt with this is it did feel different. Now, here's the thing. Can I point out where it felt different? No.
Right.
And that's the part that I think people
Leave
are going to have a hard time. But I also think there's also a feel to it, right? There's a gut feeling. And when you see him speaking, there were a couple of times that I felt a little bit cringe about some of the things he was saying.
Like?
But when he was asked about the turf, I don't know that he was ever.
We have to talk about this. Did y'all hear that? Did y'all?
No.
I did.
We have to talk about that. Go ahead, CK.
Yeah, I mean, just like even that part, like I think he knew what was being asked, and I think he almost was intentionally kind of approaching it in the like, I didn't understand you, so I'm going to answer in a different way. I also felt the tangent about the coaches have to be in charge, and even though that may be true,
that was the same answer.
It felt awkward.
The same answer.
I know, but it drew out into this really awkward, in my opinion.
Because I don't think he really got the question.
Even if he didn't get the question, I mean the way he took that was just a bit odd. It was a bit awkward. And I'm not gonna condemn him.
Was he wrong though?
He's not wrong, but I don't think that the players are right now. I think the main thing you've got to do is, I think that there's some things you can just leave in house for the time being, and I think that's one of those things that he could have just given a coach answer.
He could have answered it better.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this.
I tell you how he answers it.
No. I really want to ask this question, right? Was it? I mean, listen. Shout out to Jenkins. We love Chris Jenkins. Charlotte Vibe is the man. We've dubbed him the man of the people, and he is. He asks the questions that people want to know. But what exactly was he supposed to say right there? Because he's put in a position where you either side with the players or you side with the owner,
or you just say less.
But listen, and he's certainly not about to sit there and say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do what's right by the players, and we're gonna make sure that they get the right kind of turf." And you can't go the other way and say, "Well, no, I mean the turf is good the way it is."
Or you could just be honest. You could just be honest. And I tell you this is what this is the well, he tried to get there. I don't know if he fully understood the question. I think he got kind of flustered by not either he faked it, either if he faked like he's like
I
surface.
kind of feel like he faked it.
He's like surface, and he thought he's like, are you talking about a Microsoft Surface? Are you talking about the Surface? There is a question if he really is how in tune he is with that actual conversation about the turf that we are, right? Is like, I mean, that's something that the Panthers have been living and the Panther fans have. He is getting to know this, or like, I don't know how much he knows, but he hasn't even talked to any players yet.
Right. He's got to have time. Not
like players have been like this, but I think his answer was at its core, it was correct. And that is, look, we appreciate every man on the ship, but the owner of the ship is the guy who decides what kind of boat we actually sail, right? At the end of the day, that's a question that sadly is not determined by the players. That's not determined by the coaches, right? And what I think the only real better answer would have been is that when they asked him about why they believe David Tepper hired him, that's a better question for David Tepper. At the end of the day is, if I'm not in control of the 53 roster, and that's not what I'm here about, do you really think I'm fucking controlling what color cups you drinking about in the stands? Or is that like, wow, I understand that that's an issue that's important to players that may be relevant to this organization. It's a little bit out my introductory press conference waters. That's what I would have just said, is like, hey, I mean, like, whatever I believe on the matter don't fucking matter.
My whole point was that it was a tough question either way, because you're damned if you don't. And by the way,
you just take the middle. You just take the middle. Ask David Tepper, bro.
No, you're wrong. If you do that, then it seems like a pure deflection. Like, nah, I'm not touching that.
Because it's not your decision.
But they're still going to talk bad about him for doing it.
That's like asking me what my wife is going to wear next weekend. It's not my decision.
They're going to say that he was too cowardice. He gave an answer that didn't say much of anything. You're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't scenario.
I think you're right, Cody, but not at this point. I think it's too early to make that judgment at this point. You know what I mean? Like you're right. What is he going to say in this situation? I kind of agree with Cody. Like he has no control over that. There's nothing he can do. The best answer would have been, like he said, this is maybe give my thoughts on it or I have this about it, but I'm just walking in.
Remember when they asked
what's going on with it?
Look at what Lynn says. Take the middle and put everyone off. I agree. I feel like that's what it is.
Do you guys remember this? Is my favorite president, and my favorite president of my lifetime has been President Obama. And I got to see him speak when I was in graduate school in his first campaign. He said this. He was asked one time, when did he believe the point of life was? And he was like, bro, at the end of the day, like, that's above my pay grade no matter what. Like, is that, and it wasn't a cop-out. It was like, if you really are asking me to be the guy who informs this, we're not asking the most qualified person at this moment. Like, you can ask me different questions and I would have different opinions for them. And this was what I would end at the end of the day is like, all right, let me just give you a counter example. I'm so tired of poor Ron Rivera. You know where Ron Rivera gets hired as a head coach? Wherever there is a fucking disaster of a situation that the owner doesn't want to talk to anybody. That's when they bring in old Ron Rivera. I don't know if you remember all the shit that we went through with Greg Hardy. Do you remember the Greg Hardy saga?
How could we not?
Like, yeah, I mean, missed a whole year in this limbo situation. Ron Rivera every week comes out there and he's like taking bullets for the league, taking bullets for the Carolina Panthers, taking bullets for Jerry Richardson. These are the guys that really are the people making those decisions. 2 years later, when the Carolina Panthers had to sell the Panthers in the Richardson leg shaving shame, Ron Rivera has to come out there and take all the whipping. And then the guy goes to the Redskins, who become the Commanders, and the this and that. He's been through all of that shit. And I just look back at Frank Reich and say, the fucking field turf is not his decision. It would be like, do you not like the social media right now? I don't think it's a bad question, Cody, but I would at the end of the day say, that's like asking me what my wife should wear next Sunday. At the end of the day, what I fucking think about it don't matter. She's the one that's going to choose the dress.
I hear you, but just because that's the common sense answer doesn't mean that it isn't going to draw criticism from unreasonable people. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying
take a fake
that no matter
roll
what
that
he
grass
were to
out. That's
say,
what I played on.
No matter what he would say, it was going to be the wrong opinion in the eyes of someone. That's the only thing that I'm really trying to say here about it.
Lynn said this, Cody. She said he was asked his opinion. Everyone has an opinion.
That's what I wanted to bring up.
I'm a big Pulp Fiction fan. I hope if you guys, if you're listening to this podcast, and you haven't seen Pulp Fiction, you got to go watch it. It's Tarantino's best film. Yeah, it is arguably it's my favorite screenplay. Like, if we sat and read it, it would be, and then the fact that the actors made it important. Like, I think the dialogue in that movie is incredible. And here is one scene after they kill all those people in the initial beginning over the burger. You get the burger scene. Oh man, that's a juicy burger. He drinks it, like, and they're riding in the car, and Marvin is in the back seat. And they ask him, they're sitting there talking about, and I think they're talking about, I don't know if they go back to the feet, but they go back, and Samuel L. and John Travolta are having a conversation in the car, and they're disagreeing. And John Travolta looks in the back, and he says, Marvin, what's your opinion? And this poor kid has watched his friends get murdered. He's riding with these two assassins, and he goes, man, I don't even got an opinion. And then John Travolta says this. He says, you gotta have an opinion. He pulls the lint on him. And then he bumps his hand and blows Marvin's head off by accident. You don't have to have an opinion. Why can't we be Marvin?
You say that. That's just not how the world works.
Okay.
It's not how the world works. Go ahead.
Don't be Marvin.
Yes and no.
Marvin.
Like, when in this situation, I'm looking at what Lynn's saying. She's right about having because you do have to have an opinion, and it kind of goes back to your Barack Obama thing. Like, I think there's a difference between asking somebody their opinion and then asking them choose what the thing is. Like,
what if somebody
when you ask Frank Reich, do you like turf or grass? You're not saying make the decision now to choose what it's going to be. You're asking him his opinion.
What if I
Same thing
asked
with
you
Barack
if
Obama
Cody was
and
going to heaven or hell, Greg?
Huh?
Yeah. Is Cody going to heaven or hell, Greg?
Yes. I mean,
can you not have an opinion about that question?
That depends on a lot of different factors.
Like, do you have to choose?
Yep.
What if you don't believe in heaven
right now? Choose right now.
What if you don't believe in heaven or hell? Then how do you
1, 2, 3, choose?
That's what I'm saying, Greg.
But
you
here's
don't
the
have
thing.
to
Here's
either
the thing.
like turf or not like turf. You could say, look, turf
then
and grass
then
is in
your
the
opinion
existence of the NFL, and we got to fucking deal with it.
But then your opinion is I'm indifferent to it. Like I have that is a situation where I have an opinion because I don't have any, so.
All right. You're going to heaven, Cody.
But
Yeah,
nonetheless,
dude, let's go.
Nonetheless, that
Did you hear him drop that one?
What?
He said, let's go in the press conference. He pulled the old dad reference. This is like me talking to my kids. It was awesome.
Let's go. Yeah. I where he was talking about playing in the Carolinas and
it was awesome. It was a good moment. That might have been the most candid moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. There were, just like I said, it was an awkward press conference for me, but at the end of the day, it was just awkward. Like it just didn't feel like it wasn't like one that's I wasn't sitting there ready to run through a wall for the guy. Right. And that's okay. It didn't have to be. Sirianni's press conference when he was first hired was infamously one of the worst ones that he was constantly criticized about. The introductory press conference means absolutely nothing with how he is going to be successful in this league. And a lot of the questions he's asked are going to be around his philosophies about whether he, what type of quarterback he wants to go after, whether this is the right way or this is the right way.
All of that, though. I want to come back to your statement about run through the wall, though, CK.
Sure.
Is that really, when we say, like, at this level, when everybody is super pros, when people have been in the league longer than he has as a player, you know what I'm saying, have been, he's like he said, a backup quarterback, but these guys are all super professionals. Right. They all prepare. They're all good on good. Is having a guy that is that motivation from the outside? Does it truly come in that over intensity, that rah-rah moment? Or can that leadership come in this? And he mentioned this, is that he's had a couple of years where they didn't have good starts this season and they figured things out. I think after his first season, they started out like 1-5, and then he finished 10-6 or something like this, or whatever to the effect
they went on
is.
Like a big win streak. Yeah.
And this is where, at one point I wanted Ron Rivera to be the guy when he was struggling early in his career. I wanted him to be throwing his clipboard. I wanted to be grabbing people by the face. I wanted him showing the frustration that I felt, because I thought that frustration meant intensity, commitment. But it turns out sometimes in this league, actually all the time in this league, it's the guys who are able to weather those bumps and bruises and to make you realize that the dice are going to fall the other way if you keep doing the thing right. And maybe those players don't need a guy who's rah-rah, yell and scream, but a guy who is steady the course and smart enough that they go, you know what, I don't know.
Which is why my point is like, that's okay. Like I don't need the coach at the very beginning to make me feel like, oh, we're winning a Super Bowl. I need him after the first season to make me feel like, oh, this is a better team than it was under Rhule at any point in time, right? Like this isn't a scenario like Rhule had, like we went, 5-11 the first year. It was his first year. We'll give him a break. No, he's got to come in here and perform immediately. Like, and this is
he's ready to. He said
exactly. And so that is
he's
what's
not pitching
going to
us
be,
this like, oh, trust me throughout this. Is he knows that this league is like now. It's the not for long league. I think though, CK, one of the things that really resonated with me about the difference between him and Rhule is, I think this is that we truly saw the difference between like a AA pitcher and a major league pitcher. We saw the difference between, and they might not be, Frank Reich might not be Barry Bonds or Derek Jeter, or pick whatever Hall of Fame or baseball player you are that we want to make the comparison, but he's in the league. Like you can just tell he belongs. He knows this. I think that Matt Rhule ultimately is not in the league. And I know he's not literally at this point. It almost feels like this. It feels like Matt Rhule is a very, very good high school baseball coach.
Yeah, but
He's not good enough to be a coach. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I can get guys, I can organize them, we can run the drills, and we'll be pretty good.
If you want to go back in time, Tony, there was only one person who had anything negative to say about Matt Rhule's press conference in this panel right here.
It was Greg.
Yeah, and that was only one person, right? We all were like, "Oh, I love what he said here. I love what the press conference."
I was
so
duped.
Pointless.
I was duped.
It's so pointless.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't have to be duped today.
Yes, and I like that, but I also like what is going to be the most convincing. The first act Matt Rhule had as a coach was to basically mislead us into thinking we were going to be playing under, like we were going to be keeping Cam Newton, and eventually he made the decision to move on from Cam Newton, right? That was his first act as head coach with all the power that he could possibly have. We immediately saw a negative like we all immediately felt negatively about Matt Rhule. We learned that
it was about Matt Rhule.
Mm-hmm. So,
and you know what? We've learned this on his his little tour afterwards, CK. Watch Bus In with the Boys. Yeah. Watch this. It's about it. Matt Rhule. He might not say it, but I think he believes it. So and maybe that's what college coaches truly have to be in a certain degree. Is like they're the coolest motherfucker ever. Is like they got to walk in that room and be bringing all them recruits home, and like everybody's grandma. So
all I'm saying right now with regard to this press conference, I watched it out of pure entertainment with no real intention of getting anything of substance out of it. Right. A lot of those things are going to be said exactly the same way by every single coach that's being hired by this is just a bit of a different situation because of the circumstances where he was previously here. What I think is going to be the most telling isn't just how we start the season, but what are his first decisions as a head coach, right? That is going to be the most important part of this. If he
can't win just 5 games next year.
No,
anything less than 5 games is a.
But Tony,
say
if he goes and he trades for Derek Carr and we go into the draft,
I'm in on this. People hate me for this.
No. If we go that route again, where we are retreading quarterbacks, then Frank Reich is out, in my opinion. At that point in time,
it's not going that route again. It's actually doing that route the way it was really supposed to be.
Derek Carr has had one good season. Like you can look at his numbers and say that he's been a decent quarterback. He's had one season where he was considered a MVP candidate.
I got an argument for this. I have.
You are. But I know. I agree with CK 100%. And by the way, he talked about quarterbacks a little bit in the pressure as well, and he's talking about what he looks for back. And yeah, while he did say ultimately you win on 3rd down, you win in the red zone, you win in under 2 minutes. He did say that whenever you have a quarterback, basically that can run. I mean,
this is what I love about him, dude.
He said something to the effect of,
he said you have to be mobile. That's the game.
No, but he said you're a good team if you can run to the strong side. He said you're a Super Bowl
championship.
Team
he likes to say a championship.
If you can run to the weak side, and to me, this
backside, frontside, backside. I think he said.
No, weak side. It speaks.
No, remember he used. I think he used the attitude of this is you got to win with your stars, yes, but you also have to be able to win in situations where you're not winning in those ideal. I think he said front side, backside, and what I think he meant was. Is that the backside strong side? Okay. Well, look, we're check us, fact check us. Look,
who's right? Tony.
I think he said front side, backside, and like the front side stars. I think he said that, and what I think he meant by that is like you're supposed to be able to win, like to win games. You have to have players that fucking go and get it, right? You got to have Jamar Chases. You got to have the Waddles. You got to have players that make plays. You have to be like the Eagles where you say, oh, we put these great players around him. But that's the front side. Like that's the out exterior. But at the end of the day, there's going to be moments when those plays don't fucking make it. They don't work because the other team you're playing is very good. So then you have to win in these kind of improvised ways. You know, it's like you just have to find ways to win. Look at what the Chiefs did this week against the Bengals.
Right.
Is like really the superior team lost.
Yeah.
And
by
the
way,
inferior
chat room
team
is-
made plays.
Chat room is saying you are correct. And
Yes,
apparently
yes.
I've been watching too much Remember the Titans.
Right.
Side, strong
And I
side,
think he meant that.
side.
And I think what he meant by that terminology, though, Cody, was less about where they on the. But I think it means this is that your star players are supposed to be stars.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Right.
you're supposed
And-
to go out there and get 100 yards receiving. You're supposed to throw 300. But you know what? There's going to be moments where we need you to play on a broken ankle and make that pass like Mahomes did, or where, you know, you've got to. And mobility makes ability capable. You know, it's just something that you can't. It's like, oh, we needed that first down. I don't give a fuck how we get it. We needed that first down, and being able to run to the mark helps.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Well, I just want to add one before we get too far away from it. I wanted to add one quick question to what CK had brought up and kind of sparked a conversation here about Frank Reich's need to win so many games next year. Like, he can't come in and he doesn't have the opportunity to rebuild like we honestly told Matt Rhule he had, or kind of gave Matt Rhule. Do we think that Frank Reich is coming into a better situation than Matt Rhule was?
Yes.
Because the way I kind of look at it, Matt Rhule had the quarterback in Cam, but not the supporting cast around him. Frank Reich has a good supporting cast around him with a team, but no quarterback.
Yeah.
So
I
do we
you
think
guys
Frank Reich's coming to a
overrate
better
our roster?
Definitely.
I
Well,
think
look,
our
he's
roster's pretty
definitely further along. The team is with
I just mean is the team better.
further along from
Where?
when
Where?
Matt Rhule became the coach to when Frank Reich
Where?
became the head coach.
What position
Yeah,
group?
Kim Kwanu.
Name the.
Left
it can
tackle,
only
left
be the
guard,
offensive line.
Brady- No, okay.
I
Kim
think only the
Kwanu-
offensive line.
No,
I
no,
really
no, no,
think this
Brady,
is
you're
that
wrong, and you're still wrong. No,
you
you're
can't
wrong.
name Brady
No,
Christensen
it's
again. The offense.
It's a Kim Kwanu. It's Brady Christensen. It's
That's what I
Bradley
said.
Bozeman.
Did I
and
not
it's
use the
Austin
words
Corbett.
offensive line? It's
Nope.
the only thing better.
No, okay. Our defense.
It's the only thing
we
better
didn't
on
have
the team.
J.C.
You
Horn.
can't say the whole defense.
Yes,
We
you can,
didn't have
Tony.
J.C. Horn. Yes, you can.
No,
you
we
can.
had, I think we
Tony.
had Rasul Douglas and Dante Jackson, and I would argue Rasul Douglas and Dante Jackson were just as good as C.J. Henderson. I don't think we're head and shoulders. I think you guys are giving too much credit. I think the offensive line. Okay. So in the secondary.
I'm glad this sparked this. Awesome.
Tony,
No, the
out of
secondary. Okay. All right. Where
Let's-
else? Where else are we better?
Luke retired. They Rhule. I mean, now
Yeah, we
the-
still have name a linebacker that we have that is any good.
we have the same Shaq Thompson, but we have Frankie Louvu. Did we have a player like Frankie Louvu when Rhule took over?
Didn't have a Frankie Louvu, not right away.
Did we have a
Yeah, I
Jeremy
mean,
Chin when
Take
Rhule
back.
took over?
Man, we had fucking Julius Peppers, bro. We had
We had Julius Peppers in the latter half.
Still
Julius
probably
Peppers
had
was
man. I
retired.
bet you
Very
still had
old
9
man.
sacks, motherfucker.
He did.
retired
You're right,
that
he
year,
did.
So we
You know what I'm
didn't have
saying? I
him.
bet you he got just as many sacks as Brian Burns did.
Rhule didn't have him though. You Rhule didn't
No,
have him.
that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to tell you this is I don't know how. Look, I think you guys are overinflating how good our roster
No,
is right
you're
now.
underinflating.
I
the
don't think it's
strides
as.
that
I don't
this
think it
team
has made a biggest step as you
It's an
think.
entirely
Outside of
different
offensive line. Look, we had the same receivers, same fucking receivers. Got the same receiver,
No, we
DJ
don't.
We didn't
Moore.
have Terrace
We have
Marshall.
Terrace
That's it.
Marshall Jr. who's coming on.
Bro, he's got 4 passes, and I
version
love
of
him.
a young
Hubbard's come on.
receiver.
Deontay
Chuba
Foreman if he
Hubbard's come
decides
on.
to come
Oh,
on.
Y'all
Hey,
are
towards
the
fucking
end of the-
insane,
Towards
bro.
the end of the year, Tony, Chuba did turn it
Bro.
on. If you
How
look
about
at
this?
how he
Is
played,
that I expect
100%.
Frank Reich to win +5 games with this roster. And you know what? If he would have inherited the 2019 roster, I would ask him. I would believe he should be able to win 5 games with that roster. I do not think. I think it's better, but I don't think it's head and shoulders. Look, we got Austin Corbett on an injury. We got Bradley Bozeman in a boot. We have Dante Jackson has not played any
It's still
seasons.
better than
JC
not him
Horn-
at all. It's
No,
better
I
than
really
not having
truly
him at
no.
all.
I believe this is like, look, same linebackers, same receivers, no quarterback, no man. It's the fucking It's not. It's
It is
maybe
not
better.
the same. You're wrong.
It
you're
is
wrong.
not
You're wrong.
giantly better.
You are acting.
You guys
up.
are
You need to go to
overlove
time
this
out.
roster.
You need
You
to go
listen-
to time
No.
out, dude.
This is the one thing. And I look, Frank Reich said this in his press conference today. He caught himself. He did not go in on that shit that Matt Rhule's been out there talking about. We had the number 2 defense. We had the number 2 defense. He said, they had a top defense. That's
but we
what he
need to
said.
have a top 5 is what he said, right?
We didn't have a top. Look, I think if you go back and really dig into the stats of last season, we have no top 5 defense, even close.
No,
There
he's
was
not saying
one
we did.
sta-
He's saying
No,
we need
I
to have a
know.
top 5. Yeah.
I don't think even the defense in its best year was as fucking good as you guys said. Not that you look.
No, it's not.
So
The
we're
defense
saying
last
what
year was
not-
better than this year. Period.
Tony, we
Nobody's
still need-
saying-
we still
Period.
need-
Wow.
We still need more players. No one's saying that we don't have holes to fill on the defense.
I'm just
But
saying
if
there's
you're-
more
if
than
you're
you are
gonna- If
admitting.
you're gonna compare what Greg asked,
You sound like a
the-
Browns fan.
the team that Matt Rhule inherited versus the team that Frank Reich is inheriting now. And
It's
by
like
way,
the
by the
difference
way,
between
you know
a
what else?
fucking
Scott
brass ring and
Fitterer-
brass earrings.
Scott Fitterer agrees with me because today when he was talking about backs in his press conference,
Y'all crazy.
he was saying that we have built this team in a way where if we love a quarterback, we're in the position to go up and get them based on the strides that we've made on the offensive line, based on the weapons that we have with DJ Moore and Terrace Marshall
You're
Jr.,
so silly.
amount of
Dumb.
players that we've
Shush.
acquired on
Hey, Chuba,
defense.
say
We
it.
need-
Say
no,
his
you're
name.
wrong. You're fucking wrong, dude. And everyone knows that you're wrong.
Look,
This is
Shane
a
Falco's
much
with me.
better
You sound like a
team.
no. You sound like a Browns fan.
All right. Let's
And
let's
here's
do
why
this.
I mean this, CK. This is what the one thing I mean is this: is that are there some pieces on our team? Sure. Can this team? Somebody said, "Oh, where's the hope, Tony?" I'm not saying there is no hope, but I would tell you this: is I heard every Browns fan come in and say our roster is so much better than people than it plays. Our roster is this. It's so good. And what I would say is this: is that there's not the depth and the stars on this team that you think. I think you think that your sister is prettier than she truly is. I think your mama is pretty. Like everybody who's going to say their mama ain't pretty.
Having depth has nothing to do with the conversally that we're having. Literally
Yes,
nothing.
it does.
No,
It
literally,
kinda does. It does a
literally
little bit.
nothing.
Let me.
You
If
can't
you
even
wanna
name the
talk about
starters,
us-
let alone the backups.
If you
Can I
want to
stop-
talk about
can I
us not having depth, that's fine. But to say that the starters on this team are not
Tell me
markedly
a star
better
on this team.
than what? No, but you can't dismiss the
All right,
entire
tell me the
fucking
stars.
offensive line. The entire fucking
No,
offensive
tell me
line.
the star.
Oh, besides
That's it.
him,
I've already
right?
given you that. I've already given you that. Tell me one other star.
Let me do this. Let me take this back a
Jason
little
Horn.
bit to
say
simplify
that.
this. To simplify this, let's create a poll and ask the chat. Do we think our roster right now is more
Beautiful.
talented
No,
than it was?
significantly. It needs to be. Now, I'm not saying that it isn't. First of all, I've granted that the offensive line is better. I
No, you're not
understand
giving enough
that.
to it. You
No,
can't
what
just
I'm
say,
saying is
"Oh,
you're
just
acting
the
like this.
offensive
Is you
line."
you're
Come
pulling
on.
up in your Honda Accord
You're moving the
and my
goalposts.
Honda Civic, and I got a Honda
Yeah,
Civic, and you're like,
moving
oh,
the
you fucking
goalposts,
peasant.
dude.
Yeah, you're kind of moving
No.
the goalpost a
No,
little.
I'm not. Go
Yeah.
back and
I'll
listen
do
to the
what you
tape.
want.
I'm saying
No,
this.
I'll
is-
do what you want. I'll put significantly better.
Like,
Is this
significant.
Panthers team?
So who
Significant.
defines
Significantly
what's
better.
significant though? Who defines what's significant is the only problem you have with that. You know,
Like,
the question was, are they better?
Let's define it right now. Is that we are trying to compare the 2019 to 2020 roster, right? The inheritance of Matt Rhule versus
Sure.
the inheritance of Frank Reich. So if this team is so much better, right? What do you think the difference in wins that equates to? So, all right. So in 2020, Frank Reich comes in with this inferior roster that you're talking about. How many wins do you expect he could get with that roster? And then how many do you expect him to get this year? And if it's less than one game, then that team ain't better.
or just weren't coached. I mean, there's a lot of factors.
No, he's the guy. Like, it's like if
year?
he took over this team in 2019, or he took over it today, is he and truly a significant? Like, is he 5 wins in 2020, but 9 wins this year? I don't think the roster. Tell me a position group outside the offensive line, and you know what? Fuck you with the offensive line. Get rid of that. Austin Corbett tore his ACL. Bradley Bozeman's in a boot. Taylor Moton, you guys shit on all
that doesn't
season
mean they
long.
all of a sudden suck, you dimwit.
No,
that's
but
fucking
even
crazy.
your best thing.
Dismiss the entire offensive line
Crazy.
is fucking bananas.
Crazy.
In fact, it's one of the
No,
dumbest
I'm not
things
dismissing it.
that you have
I
ever
think
said
you
on this
think your
entire
wife is
fucking
prettier
show.
than she is.
All right,
No,
so
I'm
here's
telling you, you have beer
Tony,
goggles on. Is what I'm telling you.
let me do this. All right. And I'll tell you, and let me do this, and I'll ask you to do this. Let me finish what I'm gonna say, and then you tell me what you think. Our offensive line is significantly better than it was in 2019. Okay. Our wide receiver, you can talk about DJ Moore.
It's not different.
DJ Moore was
Same.
the only wide receiver on this roster that was good at all, even remotely good.
Same.
Okay.
We're
So
still in that spot.
now we have Terrace Marshall Jr. coming on and DJ Moore.
Shush, man. I don't want to hear that. And I love DJ.
Hey, give me a minute. Let me get through it all. All right. So now we have our better linebackers. We have a better cornerbacks. We have a better defensive line than we had when Matt Rhule took over. We have better safeties.
How?
What
Who
do
are
you
the
mean how? We have
safeties?
Penn and we have Rhodes.
Xavier Woods, who didn't catch
Jeremy
a
Chin
single
and
interception, who dropped
Xavier
every single
Woods.
thing. Jeremy Chin.
Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
and
All
Deontay
along,
Foreman,
you bitched
2019,
about
Tony.
him needing to be a linebacker.
What did we
and
have before
Deontay
the 2019
Foreman,
season?
Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard
hold on.
and Xavier Woods and J.C. Horn. Dude, you're losing this one, man. And the poll says you're losing
No,
right now.
is that
too.
I'm not saying it's not better, but I don't think it's like the difference
Are
between.
though. You're moving the goalposts
I
so
don't-
fucking much right
No.
now, dude.
All right, you know what?
It's
Let's go to a call.
embarrassing.
I'm gonna look at. No, I'm not
Oh,
moving.
now you want to go
don't-
to call.
I don't think you get what I'm saying. I think,
it's always
and maybe,
weird
you know
never
what?
get
Maybe
you're
actually, let me say this: is if you're, then I'm not being clear. I haven't been clear. And what I am arguing to you is this: is that the difference between the 2019 roster and the 2023 Carolina Panthers is the difference between a Honda Civic and a Honda Accord. And you know what? You know what? I would say you're right. You're right. You know what? Your car's a little nicer.
No, I don't.
But like, don't be driving around acting like you got a fucking Lexus or a Acura or something.
Oh, dude.
No, I mean, I think it's good, but I think you guys are the ones that are in with the over optimistic goggles here that are sitting here telling us, like the Browns fans, those stupid fucking Browns fans that told us that they had the best roster in the league, and these
We're not
motherfuckers
saying
can't
that.
even.
Well, we're not saying we have the best roster in the league.
But you are acting like it's you know what? They acted like it was better than it truly was.
No, how about this?
We're
You're
talking-
misinterpreting us. No. You're misinterpreting us. We're not saying that all of a sudden we're like the best roster in the NFC or no dumb shit like that. There's a bunch of holes that we still need to fill out on this team.
Okay.
But if you are comparing the teams that Matt did versus the team that Frank Reich is inheriting right now,
This
and
much
can't
bigger.
see the tremendous depth of talent that we have added over the past 3 years, then you're being fucking crazy, man.
Here's the reason that's
We're
the
winning
case.
the Super Bowl. Can't
It's
wait.
not. Here's the part. Here's why I think that that's true. It's not that any position group is significantly better than another one outside of maybe the offensive line and the cornerbacks, right? But the problem is the real dagger to your argument is we have almost every one of our position groups are better than they were in 2019. Now, does that mean they're significantly better? No. But what it does mean is that when you compound all of the increases in value as far as what we have as, with our team, that is significant. When you have every position group is better than it was in 2019, that is a significant. When you're talking about the NFL, when this is a game of inches, as they say,
let me tell you this
major.
I need to do should I do the 2020 roster because the 2019 roster was not Matt Rhule's.
Well, what was our record in 2019 then? Because I want to know what the record was.
We were 5. We were 5. Owen Perry was Perry Fuel was 0-4. Ron Rivera was 5-7. The 2019 roster was a little bit old, but you know what? There's a lot of motherfuckers on this team that y'all bitches loved back in the day that are still 2019 team. Let me tell you. Oh,
Yeah,
2019. I feel like we need to go to
2020
2020 because I feel like, look, should we talk about the team that Matt Rhule coached? We're gonna go into but here, this is here. Let me tell you some of the names here, Cody, on the 2019 under Ron Rivera, and you might be ready to jerk off. Curtis Samuel. Oh, you just blew your load.
He left that year.
Good player.
No, he's listed right here. 54 catches, 627 yards, 6 touchdowns. Cody last name. This 2019.
Yeah, he would have been so good if we had a franchise quarterback for him.
James Bradbury was on that team. Trey Boston was on that team. Shaq Thompson was on that team. Don Terry Poe was on that team.
Christian McCaffrey.
Matt Paradis was on that team. Taylor Moton. They were just old. But this team on that, I think we really need to compare the 2020 team. But you know what? Before we continue in this stupid argument that I created,
it's Greg's fault. Yeah. Greg is the fucking
fault. I really believe this. I think it's better.
Greg is the sower of chaos.
Well, and here's
I feel
my
like
thing.
it's us coming back from the prom and you over bragging about how hot your girlfriend was when my girl was pretty good looking.
Yeah, meanwhile, you're drunk off your ass. You have beer going.
I'm not. I'm fucking
you
totally
don't even
sober.
have a date to the prom and you're talking shit about everyone else's girlfriend, dude.
All right.
That's
Greg,
what
this is going to be 2 versus 2
calls, Greg.
Greg? Oh,
Greg. Once you say your point.
Sorry.
I
was just saying, I'm actually, Tony, after thinking about all this, I'm a little more on your side. Here's the difference is I do think that we are better, but I'm like you. When you add the word significant, I think it takes it away. I don't think we're significantly better. He's inheriting a team that won 2 more games than the one that Rhule won the year before. And the team that he has now is a lot younger. I mean, there are a bunch of different factors going a lot of different ways. I think they're better. I don't think they're significantly better.
All right, here's my question.
And it's not. I'm not trying to be negative, guys. Like when you guys look, people in the chat are like, "Oh, no." What I'm saying, this is realism. Is that I think this team can be a lot better than it is with Frank Reich.
All right,
but I think that you guys got to be careful about going, "Oh, this team was good the whole time," and we just didn't have a good coach. We were.
How do we know?
Okay.
How do we know? How do we know? How do we know that that's not the case?
We're just okay because we don't have any stars.
That's not the case.
We don't have a single star.
Let's break this down to investing. Let's break this down to investing. Okay. Let's say you have 6 things you're investing in as far as like you have these different let's just say businesses. You have 6 businesses you're investing in. Okay. Let's say in 2020, Matt Rhule inherited a team that all 6 of those investments he was losing money on, right? He basically took on a losing situation. I'm not giving Matt Rhule much credit right here, but now where we're talking about with Frank Reich, now fast forward, those 6 businesses are now making him money.
No, they're not. You're overinflating those businesses. No, they've been 5. They haven't won more than 6 games.
Let me finish what I'm saying. Okay. Now it's not like you're making double your money, but you're making like a 10% return on investment, right? So you're making more money than you were making. You're not losing money. You're still making more money, right? So
we were under 500. You can't say we're making money.
The entire offensive line disproves your point. You are not giving enough credit to the offensive line. I don't give a damn about.
No, I know where CK was going this, but CK, the business didn't turn a profit.
Years,
it did turn a profit.
We have been yelling.
No, it didn't.
For years. The wall.
Where?
And
it may not turn a profit.
Where has it turned a profit?
But it's not leaking a little bit.
How many wins did we get in the last 12 games of the season?
6.
Okay. How many losses in the last 12 games of the season?
100. I don't know.
6.
We have not won more than 50% of our games in a single season.
6 and 6.
Every single has been losing. Right. I don't understand how the business is profiting.
Matt Rhule. It's funny how Steve Wilks was able to get as
Like,
many
I
wins
understand your
more
point.
than Matt Rhule ever did. You're not putting enough importance on the offensive line. We were on this podcast for years saying
We're
build that
fucking, man. We were at
9-17,
9-17, 9-18, man. Just ready to go to the Super Bowl.
And now it doesn't matter. Now it just doesn't matter.
He's not saying
Dude,
it doesn't matter, Cody.
so much.
No,
He's
I'm
not
trying
saying
to
it
say,
doesn't matter.
Greg,
Yeah.
and I don't want to
he's saying
make
that it's
CK
not a
mad either. I feel like
market
he's mad at me. CK's mad at me.
I want to be able to get my points across is my only thing. And so like when I bring that up is it's not to say that we are winning right now, but what I am saying is right when you look at where our team was the last 12 games of the season last year, it was infinitely better than anything we've seen in the past 3 years. Okay. So why I say that is if you had the exact same like everything worked, if let's say Steve Wilks had the reins on this team from week 1, CMC was gone, Baker Mayfield was gone. Hold on. If you take all of that into account, right? That's where we are right now. That's where our roster is right now. Our roster, we would have been above 500. There are so many teams, so many games that we came this close to winning because of stupid stuff, because of whatever.
But it didn't happen.
But that was before Steve Wilks took over. The most important part of this is you've got to look at where we ended the
happened
season.
with him.
No,
it wasn't
did not.
No, did we almost? We could have won the Ravens game. We could have won the Falcons. We didn't almost. It wasn't like all of a sudden it was so much better. Yes, but it was not like it was without flaw.
We were competitive. Yes, it was. We were competitive.
He was without flaw.
In a way
we didn't beat the Bucks. We were up 14 points. We didn't beat the Steelers. They weren't as good as us.
We were never even competitive.
I appreciate. Look, I think CK's point. I want to all I want to do is what I'm trying to say, CK, is I understand your analogy about the businesses, but I think that the flaw in the analogy is that you're saying that Frank Reich took over a business that has turned a profit. And what I think he's taken over is a business that's just hemorrhaging less money. Then, you know what I'm saying, is like, yeah, they were hemorrhaging $20 million. And then, 2 years later, they're hemorrhaging $5 million. But guess what? They still ain't turned a fucking profit.
I would argue
and I don't
that
think in a single place we can say we don't have a quarterback. We're bottom 5 in everything. We're top. Like, where is this supposed success?
We're top 5 in special teams. Our defense was turning a corner. There's a lot of things to improve upon, but we had a lot of injuries. And the only thing on our offense that we're missing is maybe a tight end and in the quarterback. So we are breaking. So I'll even concede a part of that. I will say we're not making money, but we're not losing money right now either. So
you
if
got
we're
some
talking about that
rose-colored
analogy,
glasses.
So what that means is we are a quarterback away from this team being the team, and that's why it's important. That's why it is easy to look at these rosters and say Frank Reich is going to be taking over a better situation than Matt Rhule had, and it's not even close.
And by the way, before we go on to the cat calls, because I'm so fucking done with this stupid ass conversation, I put
wait till you see what I message you.
Is the team that Frank Reich is inheriting substantially better than the team Matt Rhule inherited? So far, 74% of people say yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So right now, you're on the losing side of the argument.
I love it.
A lot of people voted for Biden too.
Calls, man. I am tired.
No, man, you didn't come here for me to agree with y'all, did you?
No, I mean, whoever expects you to do that, you know, that would be crazy.
You're wrong.
But all right, you already know the deal. 252-228-5098. Get your call.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
What's going on, C3 Nation? It's your boy JS, and y'all up. I saw the press conference of the new coach. Really, I mean, I know everybody want to say, like, what would you grade, how you feel about the press conference. Man, the press conference is the press conference. Like, you don't win me with the press conference. You win me with what you put on the field, how you coach on the field. Like, that's how you win me. The introductory press conference, that's not winning. Let's see that. I mean, that's easy to win. That's easy.
Well, you have to win it. It's like getting the first round draft pick.
Hey, I'm a good coach. I'm gonna be soon be a great coach, and we're gonna do all this. We're gonna do all these imaginary things and stuff like that. But it's go time now. Like, who you picking, who you drafting, who you putting on your scout teams and stuff like that. What kind of players are you getting, and how you coaching them, and then how the game is gonna go. That's just me. And to me, I ain't care. Whether Steve Wilks would have been the head coach or him being the head coach. To me, you got to win 10 plus games. To me,
10?
You got to win 10 plus games. This is easy. I mean, I won't say easy, but the division is wide open. We won 7 games.
Oh, 7.
Was a spotty up. We had talent, but still we didn't have no quarterback. So better get you a quarterback. We better win 10 games. I know people say, "Well, give it time," and
we
stuff
won
like
7
that.
last year.
No, 10 games. Win the division.
10.
That's all I want to see.
Wow. It's success, guys. Call in at 252-228-5098. Is 10 games the success number for Frank Reich? Good God.
Yeah.
That was his number that first year in Indianapolis.
Yeah, Andrew Luck his first year.
But does that mean
But we don't know who our quarterback is going to be.
If we get our quarterback right, if we get our quarterback right, right now there's not a single team in the NFC South that shouldn't beat. Right, so that means 6 games right there just in the NFC South. Now it's not a guarantee, but if we get the quarterback, if we get that shored up, then that's an easy 6 right there, and to assume that we can't get 4 out of the remaining 9 games after that, I think would be difficult.
I mean, y'all right. I mean, with this championship roster, I mean, they should get 10 games at the minimum. I mean, good God, this roster he inherited is fucking incredible. The number is 252-228-5098.
What's going on, C3 Nation? It's your boy JL.
I
saw the press conference of the new coach.
This is the first
really
he's played.
I mean, I know everybody wants to say, like,
all right, thank you.
Did you grade how you?
Hey. He said he wanted me to play a second one. Sorry.
Hey. You know who the fuck it is? Breaker! I don't know what happened in that first call. I don't know if my call dropped. The fucking weather here in Utah has been outrageously fucking cold.
I love how he.
So I don't know if I lost service or what the fuck is going on. But let's jump into this. I want to give out shout out to my 2 niggas, C-Dog and that nigga G Kabasi. Yay. What's good with you boys, man? It's a beautiful fucking day. It's a new day in the Carolinas. There's a lot of fakeness, a lot of fraudulent motherfuckers that are going around. Cody Lack, the best thing that you ever told me to do was get Twitter. A lot of motherfuckers say one thing on the panels and they go around to Twitter and they say a totally different fucking, a totally different thing with their little Twitter fingers. Y'all make me fucking sick, bro.
Oh, wow.
Panther pickers, you make me fucking
He should get some nausea medication. He's getting
the
sick all the
past
time.
fucking 2 years, you can say CJ trash.
Always
CJ Stroud is fucking complete trash. Not worth trading up for. Waste of time. Bryce Young too small. Blah, 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 blah. And now you're over here tweeting that you want to fucking trade up to go get Stroud, bro. You made me fucking sick, bro. You Kim K dick jumping motherfucker. You've been on my ass for how long about this motherfucker? Now you want to jump shit? Nah, bro. Stay the fuck over there. I want all you fake motherfuckers to stay all over there, bro. I've been getting fucking blasted. I've been getting fucking blasted during the off season and during the fucking season. Over what? Smartness? Like, come on, bro. This is some fucking bullshit, G. But I want to talk about Frank Reich. I'm impressed. I like press conference. I loved, some of the shit he said. Of course, the highs we want to be championship, and the lows we want to be playoffs. Of course, who wouldn't want that shit? I definitely want that. I like seeing some of the players that were there. But I'm gonna call back, boys.
That was. Let me ask you guys this about some of the people I know, and G Baby was one of them, were irate about Nicole Tepper being part of the hiring process. Like they went nutso about it. Complete nutso. There was a real, and I don't know if this was across the board in the entire press conference, because they welcomed all of Frank Reichs people from like his mom to it. Yeah, I mean they introduced everybody. It was great. It's nice. But Nicole Tepper has continued to be front and center in the thanks.
I don't mind it.
Tepper, the whole and I don't have opinion about whether she should or shouldn't be, but I'm just saying it's a reality. She is a big part of this organization and him and his life, second wife. But I mean, it's just a reality. That's all I'm saying.
Can I say what I think is happening? I think David Tepper is getting tired of media, and I think he's about to hand the reins over to Nicole Tepper to be the face of the ownership team.
Not a bad idea.
I'd rather watch her than him.
I would.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
I was literally about to say I like her better than him anyway. One, she's personable.
Well, duh.
Two, way hotter than
And
David
she's
Tepper.
not
Way
a
better to
dude.
look at. Yeah, but also, dude, like, look, man. The fact of the matter is,
she's there. She's present.
No, let me finish it. The fact of the matter is, and shout out to Lynn Leonhardt in our chat, women love football just as much as men do. And I think, it is good to have the female voice in the front office. And, women are more intuitive. They get a better feel of things. They have.
Man, that's stereotyping, you sexist motherfucker.
Whatever, man. There's a difference
between
sexism. Men and women, and I feel like you need that feminine. You need that feminine energy in the front office. Sometimes I love it. I have no problem with Nicole Tepper, and I have no problem with her being a.
No one has a problem with her. I'm not saying I had a problem with her. I'm just saying she's been very present. Mm-hmm. That's it. It's just an observation.
And I'm telling you that I
think CK is absolutely right. I think that, and that is what I would ultimately do. How many people are these? Think of what Frank Reich said today about, we're a football family. I'm all about the X's O, and she goes out into the community. Like, it is the tandem. So I do agree with that. But Cody, that's just straight sexism to say. And here, I'll give you an example of this. When I was the first time I ever voted in an election, like, man, I was 18 years old, and I went and voted. And I think it was the 2000 election president. So it was a presidential. You get to vote for everything. It's fun. Your 18th birthday, not birthday, but year. And I got to the judges, and it's like district judge for Pitt County. And as a child, I remember being a child, 18 years old, and I voted for only women. And I said this, the rationale in my head is, they're more empathetic. Maybe they will handle the court system better. It's a total bullshit fucking idea. And I'm not trying to diminish her presence there. I'm saying by saying she is an empathetic.
You had to learn the hard way.
I think you were just saying because she is sensitive.
No, Cody, you are what?
Okay.
Have a better feel.
Y'all are going to come back and appreciate my positions.
Women are able to feel things intuitively
the generalization
that men just don't.
Listen, I agree with you on this, okay? Just so we know we're on the same stance with this, but you can't use that in an argument, because you cannot use a positive stereotype for somebody in an argument if you can't use a negative one. You just can't do it.
Here's what I would arge against with Cody.
You can't do that.
I wouldn't to generalize this over the entire gender what I will say in a vacuum. Nicole Tepper is much more empathetic from the looks of outside than David Tepper is, right? And I think that she is a much more personable person. And so when I think about her getting behind the camera or in front of the reporters and answering questions, I feel like she is going to have a lot more of charisma in her answers and her speaking with the fans and things like that than David Tepper has. David Tepper has just been awkward in most of his interactions with fans and the media.
Certainly.
I just think that you, Cody, continue to go, oh, she's empathetic. Why don't you just say she's more intelligent?
Right. And that's
She
kind of
might
my
And what
be.
I mean by that is,
That's
I
kinda my
think you're
point.
trying
Okay.
to pander
No,
to
no.
feminism.
Exactly.
No, I'm
Feminism.
not.
You're
No.
trying to say
There's
that stereotypes
intelligence.
are
Just say
okay.
she's fucking better than David Tepper.
You're trying to say
which
that's
I would agree with you.
There is intelligence, and then there is emotional intelligence.
And she's a dumb
And
girl.
I believe that CK is right. David Tepper, he not only
what he's
does he not
saying.
come off very empathetic, but a lot of the stuff that he says, like he kind of mumbles through a lot of the sentences that he says. Whereas I feel like with a woman, and specifically with Nicole Tepper,
He's an asshole. Let's just be honest. He's kind of an asshole.
Right. Okay. So then that makes my point. She has advantages over him
Not being
dealing
an
with this
asshole.
kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
All
right. I got you. No, I mean, I think I get what you guys are saying, but I think you guys miss sometimes what you're saying.
I don't give it. If I'm sexist, so
Okay.
fucking what,
Yeah,
dude?
let's go
I
to
ain't
the next
changing my
call.
opinion for
Let's go to the next
shit.
call. Nah, you know what? She might be a better leader of the Carolina Panthers than David Tepper is. How about
I
this?
think
Hey,
I think she's a better
Yeah.
face
She
of
could
the
be.
ownership.
She could be.
I mean, just give it like he's the financier.
Yeah, I agree.
Man, she
I think
could be a better president. She could be a better communicator. She could be all of those. And I think that might be the case, honestly.
Yeah.
By the way, Lynn Leonhardt, a woman, says intuitive abilities are a valid feminine skill practiced by many, not all women. Shout out to Lynn.
And that's kind of like I said, I'm getting to the point where you got to watch how you work stereotypes, because you can't have a stereotype that's positive for you and use that. But if I were to say, well, she's not going to do good because she's a woman, she's not strong. Well, that's a stereotype.
What about men
I can't use that negatively. You wouldn't let me use that negatively. I can't say because women are more intuitive.
There's positive
men have more
stereotypes and
upper
there's
body
negative.
strength.
Exactly,
Might just
but
be
you
a
can't
reality.
pick and choose which ones you want to use.
Well,
All
we have-
stereotypes
yeah.
are stereotypes.
I'm sorry, guys. I did this.
Yeah,
This
but
is
some
my fault,
stereotypes
CJ.
are
Hey,
true.
what's the next
Some
call to play?
stereotypes
let's
are true, man.
My fault. I picked a fight with C. See, I made CK mad. He never gets mad. Let's go to the next call.
What's up, guys? It's Chase from Anderson. For all the people who wants to wait about a quarterback and build a team first and then put a quarterback in place, blah, blah, blah. The 49ers are a perfect example of why if you don't have a quarterback, it doesn't matter how good you are. Look how good they are. Look at their team they got. It's probably the best roster in the league, minus a quarterback. And what did it get them? It got their ass whooped. I don't want to hear about this. Oh, Jimmy G was not playing. Brock Purdy got injured. They're a bunch of bums. They're not franchise quarterbacks. They're not. So you get a quarterback and you build a team around the quarterback to fit that quarterback. You don't build a team and hope you can find a quarterback that fits your scheme. That's not how that works. So this coming draft need to do what needs to be done to move up to get C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young in that order. Yeah, you got a quarterback and you matter, or you don't have a quarterback and you don't matter. If you have a good team like the 49ers, all it's going to get you is consistently drafting at the bottom of the draft, out of reach of a possible franchise quarterback. I see if they even have a
Great
draft
point.
picks then.
Great call. Great call. I want to talk about the quarterback situation, what we gleaned from that in the Frank Reichs press conference today. I made a top 5 kind of list of what I took away. We talked about one of them already before we went in this rabbit hole of arguing over rosters and now feminism and sexism and equality in America. But one of the things that we go back to is the Carolina Panthers have not had an answer at quarterback. And that, again, goes back to my roster thing that I was trying to tell y'all. Man, it's still in flux. He knows that. And he comes from a team where they were in flux for 4 years, 4 different quarterbacks, different styles. He did adapt, and there's some good things about that. But the question is, do you draft a guy? What type of traits does this guy want? If you go into free agency, he said everything was on the board, the draft, free agency, and if it wasn't, you would be silly. And he's completely right about that. But what I loved hearing about Frank Reichs is just commitment to that the game is always changing. It really felt like a man who was very comfortable with this. If you're not evolving, you're dying. And he didn't. The idea of a mobile quarterback is not incongruent with the idea of a guy who can pass in his mind. And in fact, what is incongruent is a guy who can't run with the NFL at this point. It's like you're the top 1% of the world or the 1% of the 1%. Why can't you throw and run the fucking ball? That's where we're at. This ain't your grandpa's NFL no more.
I really love call because it was a perfect segue to what we're talking about here. So this is from our good buddy, old pal, David Newton. He says the Panthers are currently about $9.56 million in the red in cap space, even with the new extended salary cap. They also have a little over $10 million left over from the 2022 cap that will help. Reworking the contract of linebacker Shaq Thompson should be a priority. He says this is good news as Carolina has most of the key players under contract for 2023. Big exception is quarterback. That's another quarterback in the first round and sign a vet at a bargain. Now, he's talking about, and I love what the caller said, that even if you have a really good defense, a really good offense, the San Francisco 49ers are never around the quarterback. Because every time they do, they either get hurt or they're trading for one or they're bringing in.
I think that's a little unfair to look at the injury
round pick. I mean, listen, the only point that I'm making is I'm bolstering the caller's point that traditionally you make sure that you have a quarterback and you're able to build that team around them and based around what their strengths are. And I think that's a great point. You believe that quarterback to be, the Panthers are in a position this year to start to do that, to build around their specific quarterback of choosing.
I don't like the San Francisco analogy for a couple of reasons, though, Cody. One is their team A is like around outside the quarterback position is like so far head and shoulders above the Carolina Panthers in every dimension. But the other thing is that I think if anybody realized that, the San Francisco 49ers realize that they've done every single thing you could possibly try to do to get the quarterback situation right. And the time they got it right was when the last pick in the draft kind of stepped into the place. You know what I'm saying? They tried to get Tom Brady at one point. They brought back, they had the whole fucking crazy thing with Garoppolo. They traded up they did all the things that everybody is telling us you have to do to win. What I think they have showed you is that they recognize without a quarterback, you can't. Think about it. They were arguably going to they could have made the Super Bowl with the last pick in the draft. They had such a good team that they were competitive with Christian McCaffrey as their quarterback. It was like 7-7 at the end of the first quarter. It was not like, it was clear that the Eagles were so much of a better team at that moment. But if Brock Purdy stays in there, I don't think it's like, such a blowout. I think the Eagles still win. But you got to think that is like, even they realize without a quarterback, you toast. The best, they know it.
That's the point. If you don't have a quarterback, you're dead on arrival. And I believe a lot of what Frank Reichs said in his press conference today kind of confirmed that notion. Hey,
So
I
what do you
wanted
do?
to well, okay, so let's get into that. What do you
Is
do?
that-
Right? So let's look at the options that we have available. And right now, let's just look at some trends, shall we? Frank Reich, if you look at all the quarterbacks that he has coached, there's something in common with all of them. He likes the big boys, 6'4" and above. In fact, he hasn't coached a quarterback that has been shorter than 6'4". Now, that doesn't
This is
necessarily guarantee
stupid.
never,
This is
but
the dumbest thing.
no, I think why you always gotta do before I'm even done? Look,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
he has a type. He has a type. He likes, if you, I mean, not every guy on this list fits the criteria, but the big, strong, mobile quarterback tends to be something that he does well with.
This is
Specifically, Andrew Luck,
corollary. This is just corollary evidence.
Carson Wentz for a time was also very mobile. And I mean, look, thinking about this, it's easy to see why, if he were drafting a quarterback, why he might want somebody like an Anthony Richardson or like a Will Levis, someone who has a lot of tremendous upside and ability to be able to tap into. I really do think that's going to be important for them going forward. Now, this is kind of off topic.
Move on, because you just put up a bunch of corollary evidence that has nothing to do with anything. Is that he didn't have any choice. Go back to that list. The only one player that he brought in, arguably, is Carson Wentz. He didn't have nothing to do with Andrew Luck. He didn't have nothing to do with Bruce. He didn't have nothing to do with the selecting of these people.
Because he chose to go to the Colts because of Andrew Luck.
So
then, and remember, he had Carson Wentz.
He had no Peyton Manning. When did he have Peyton Manning?
He didn't have Peyton Manning.
Yeah, that ain't right.
Or well, he did when he was he was in Indianapolis before, like he got let go the year that they
he wasn't the coordinator.
Yeah, they sucked for Luck.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay.
he wasn't like an.
I just think this is like, you might be right that he likes guys that are big, but this is not. This is just fodder. This is corollary evidence. Go to the next one, because I'm not wooed by this.
I mean, what, dude? It's something.
He didn't have anything to do with picking any of these motherfuckers, man, except for Carson Wentz.
I mean, again, he chose to go to the Colts because of Andrew Luck.
He was their second choice, bro.
Remember, if you have
he got that job. He didn't choose to go. He didn't have no other day. Yo, crazy. You crazy. Your revisionist history.
Dude, no,
remember they hired McDaniels? They hired McDaniels, and he
went playing his best football ever, big arm and mobile, and that's who he had most of his success with.
And he left for a head coaching job. What an idiot.
Then Andrew Luck does all those things that I just mentioned. So yeah, you do have to mention
Go to
that.
the next one.
All
Tell
of
us
the
now.
guys that he have brought in. No, I'm not going to the next fucking slide because I'm right and you're wrong. Then he brings in Matt Ryan, also 6'4". By the way, coach Nick Foles in the Super Bowl, 6'6". Yeah, size does. Now, whether or not we go with the big quarterback, who knows? But I mean, hey, I'm noticing a trend here. It's irresponsible.
This is my guy. I've been telling you.
Well, people are down on him. So this is the rumor mill right now from Tony Pauline. Says he hasn't spoken to anyone who believes Will Levis is a good quarterback. Athlete, yeah. Big arm
That's
thrower.
a fucking mean thing to say. Now, bullshit. You know what? Fuck this dude. Come on. Like he can't even talk to his mom.
Dude, almost everyone believes that.
Like,
but this is true though. Everyone thought that he needed to go to the Senior Bowl to continue to prove himself. And
they said no one thinks he's good.
Dude,
that's mean, bro.
I just fall back on this argument once again. The same thing with the Senior Bowl and with the Combine. Is that one more time seeing them really gonna make or break your decision? Like, does the body of work they put together mean nothing?
Yeah.
Like,
who is Tony Pauline?
It did it for Justin Herbert. It did it for Jalen Hurts. It did it for Josh Allen.
Yeah, it
It's
boosted
done
their
it
morale.
for-
But they were going to be the same. They were going to be the same player,
Yeah.
whether they went to the Senior Bowl
Tell
or they
'em.
went to the Combine. They were
Tell
going to be the
'em,
same
Greg.
player. And seeing them do the Underwear Olympics one time or play a few more plays in one game was not going to convince you whether they were better or worse. And if that convinced you, you're a bad judgment of character.
Well,
if a
here's
whole
If
body,
you're-
if a whole body
if-
of work is
if
there
you're-
and
if
one
your
game
film-
changes your opinion, that's a bad
If
judgment.
your college film says that there are things that you have a hard time doing from a X's and O's standpoint, and then you go to Mobile with professional coaches who then put you under center, they put you under situations that you're going to be in the NFL. And if
Not
you
even close to
thrive,
situations you're going to be in the NFL.
no.
Nothing
If
even
you
close to
thrive
it.
under those scenarios, a lot of players have never been under center. They're going to be under center at the Senior Bowl. That's a big deal when it comes to college quarterbacks.
So
It
you're
shows it shows talent that you have the ability to pick up new things fairly quickly, and you show how you relate to other teammates, the competitors around you, how you interview with all the coaches that are there. It matters, and I guarantee you people are starting to doubt Will Levis because of his inability to want to go and prove himself.
What if he's hurt?
Yeah,
I mean,
It
there's
doesn't help the doubts.
Well, no, but
He's
like
still-
you guys give it. There's gonna be not you guys. There's gonna be a million people up here telling us how Hendon Hooker's a great pick, but he's rehabbing. You know what I'm saying? Like, is like at the end of the day, is that this is a weird post if you think about it. It's like, look, no one believes he's a good quarterback, so he is like worse than Taysom Hill from this post as a prospect. And then the next thing is like, oh, big arm thrower, yeah. But if he was any good, he would fucking play this one game.
Right, exactly.
I mean, it's
Well, here's-
this is kind of a salacious post.
Well, the part of it that I think is kind of lost in this is how. So, for instance, Will Levis, or let me
But
go
that's
back
who we're talking about.
to Trevor Lawrence. Right,
Ooh.
he had proved himself enough to where he didn't even have to basically go to the combine. He didn't have to
Right.
do anything because he knew he was going to be drafted number 1 overall anyway. Now, how many of these guys, if they don't go and prove themselves at the combine, if you're drafted in the first round because you're considered that high of a prospect, the noise starts to get really loud for you to be the starter on a team. Whereas if you're drafted in the 3rd, 4th round, like say Matt Corral, for instance, the noise starts to be, he was the 3rd round quarterback. He's never really going to deserve a shot at starting in the NFL, right? So, and a lot of these guys earn that 1st round draft pick, earn that, or they slide because of their inability to perform. And so if you trust in your ability, if you haven't shown enough on paper to say that you're a 1st round draft pick, you absolutely need to go to the combine. You need to go to these other to the Senior Bowl to be able to show what you're capable of doing. Now, the
What
other
if
part
he's
of
a
this,
2nd round pick though? That doesn't mean he's still not a good quarterback.
it means
Jalen
he's
Hurts
not going
was
to
a
get
second.
he might not get the same opportunity to be an actual starter in this league, though.
True,
That's the
true.
thing.
Right.
Is
Corral.
how many quarterbacks? Like, I can tell you, my own opinion about quarterbacks is there are probably so many quarterbacks that are seen as busts that were just never given an opportunity because they weren't considered a high quality draft pick.
Like
right?
who?
Think
about it. Think about it. No, think about it. I don't want to over put you on the spot, but I don't want you also to say that and just be able to get away with it.
No,
I mean,
Because
I'm not
I don't have an
saying that
opinion,
there's
but like,
somebody
who
in
is
mind. What
that
I'm
person?
saying is
Rosen?
how many. Let's talk about Brock Purdy. He would never have gotten the shot that he did if somebody didn't get hurt. He
But
went
he
to a
might
team
not
as
be
a
good
3rd
either, to
string
be
quarterback.
Like,
you say?
I mean, the 49ers are already in thoughts about this is like, thank you for your service, Brock Purdy, but they're not necessarily going into the next year as him saying, like, he was a pleasant surprise, but right now after that injury, he could be gone.
Right.
What I'm
but
just saying
that's
is
because of an
who
injury.
are those people? I mean, I think Brock Purdy isn't that the most extreme example? The last person in the draft who had some success.
It's the only example you can point out because nobody that's drafted in the 4th or 5th round gets a shot like that. That's what
Russell
I'm saying.
Wilson.
Dak Prescott was a 4th-round pick.
Exactly, and it
Russell
took
Wilson.
Romo
He
getting
said
hurt.
that, but those are all examples. I'm just saying, who's the second-round pick that got overlooked? Who's the late first-round pick?
You can't point them out because they never got the shot.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And I get what you're saying there, CK, and what you're saying, it's right. You're right. Some of them never get an opportunity. But the thing is, y'all are not wrong about saying that them going to the Combine and the Senior Bowl is going to do this. What I'm saying is that's stupid. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. It's stupid. Like, Cody, you say that you want to put them in a position in the Combine where you don't see him in college. You put him under center,
Senior Bowl.
and it's going to put, or Senior Bowl, okay. Or you're going to put him in the Combine because it's going to give him situations
Coach
get him to
Matt
check him out,
Rhule.
how they're going to do. Well, guess what? In the Combine, you're playing in shorts. There's no pass rush. There's no crowd. There's no pressure of the game.
It's not even a game at the Combine.
It's not even a game. They're telling you this guy's going to run this route, drop back, throw it. Let's see what you do. That's not a game situation.
So
the only thing going to the Combine.
I'm not talking about the Combine, though. I'm talking about
he's right. He's
Senior
not talking
Bowl,
about the
and
Combine.
that is an actual game.
But do they even play
where
the whole
they
Senior
will
Bowl?
do some NFL
No,
concepts.
they don't play.
Do they even play
It's
the whole
like an
Senior Bowl?
all-star
Is it like the
game.
Pro Bowl?
No.
They
Yeah.
rotate
Yes.
in
If
and
he
out,
plays?
and still, if you're a quarterback and you've never played under center, or you've never played against Power 5 competition,
So
like
3
Jordan
snaps, other
Love.
center's gonna prove it?
Jordan Love was another guy coming from Utah that needed the Senior Bowl to continue to improve his stock.
We've never even seen Jordan Love play a single fucking game in the NFL. So what did the Senior Bowl do for him? Shut up.
He was
I
drafted
didn't mean
the
that.
first
3
round.
snaps is
It
gonna
matters
convince you,
where
Cody.
it matters
snaps
where
is gonna
they're
convince you you can do it.
drafted.
All right, this is what's wild about this is that when you want that argument to work, you make it. When you don't want it, you don't make it. And I'm not saying you guys, but I'm saying to anybody, is that someone who doesn't have a good performance at the Senior Bowl, you say, look at their tape. Someone at the Combine, you say, look at their tape. And then when they have a really great Combine or really about this, and you say they have bad tape, you say, don't be fooled by this.
Right.
So I don't know.
Right.
Is that, I
So
don't
can
know
I-
if my idea, maybe Will Levis, if he just fucking slayed and like at the Senior Bowl and then went to the Combine and slayed, he goes from top 10 to top 3. But
What,
I think he could, he didn't fall into the second round by not doing this. But I might be wrong.
Maybe. Yeah.
You don't
I
know
don't know.
that? Hey,
No.
how about
CK
this?
froze.
Yeah,
You
I'm
froze
here.
for a second.
I'm here.
Okay.
So I want to say one thing and I'll pass the mic. Matt Corral, everyone says, oh, he's a 3rd-round quarterback.
How'd he
came
do in
from
the
an
Senior Bowl?
RPO offense. No, but he wasn't able to play because he was hurt. So what I'm trying to say is, imagine if Matt Corral was able to play in the Senior Bowl and had an incredible performance. That might help
A
people
lot of
believe,
ifs.
guy can do more than just a play action pass, RPO type stuff that he had to do in Ole Miss.
One drive, and we're like, oh my God, he's
So,
fucking
Cody,
so
more
much
than
Cody,
one
if he goes
drive.
there,
By the
what if
way,
he goes?
this is common knowledge amongst NFL scouts. Everything that me and CK
No,
are
let's see
saying,
all right, I'll
it's
see what the
common
stats were
knowledge.
for
And
the
you know what?
last
NFL
Senior
scouts
Bowl.
never get it wrong either, Cody. You're right. They
I'm
never
not
get
saying
it
they
wrong.
get it wrong.
Here's my
It definitely helps.
So
here's what I wanted to say. If this is in fact, here's my counter to this, and I don't want to have my counter just be a if this isn't true, then this has to be true, right? But if this is in fact a pointless endeavor, why does anybody accept the invite? Why do all 32 teams bring their scouts? Why do all 32 teams show up to evaluate every one of these seniors at the Senior Bowl? If it didn't matter,
that's a very good point.
2 reasons.
if it didn't matter, why are they showing up?
Can I read you the stats from last year's Senior Bowl?
Go ahead.
Kenny Pickett went 6 for 6, 89 yards and a touchdown. One good drive, right? Executed as he was supposed to. Desmond Ridder, same team, next quarterback in, 4 for 6, 68 yards. Carson Strong, 6 for 11. On the other side, the American team, Bailey Zapp went 8 for 13, 103 yards and interception. Sam Howell went 6 for 9, 67. Malik Willis went 2 for 4 and 11 yards. How about this? Is Malik Willis still was what the second quarterback picked in this draft? Was that true? Was he? Maybe he was a third. Maybe Ritter went before him. I can't remember.
Pickett, Pickett, then Ritter, then
Willis. What I'm saying is this is the best person in that stock was Kenny Pickett. He did the best you can do. 6 for 6, 89 yards and a touchdown. But like, does that really? I mean, he still was. It didn't propel him into the top 5.
How about this? If you want to say, and then I'm gonna let Greg go.
I think CK made a great point.
If you want, right, and if you want to say it's a meaningless game, how about Josh Allen, Kenny Pickett, Carson Wentz, Baker Mayfield, Mac Jones, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Kirk Cousins all decided to play in the Super Bowl. I mean, that's
how many of those motherfuckers have you? How many of these people, those guys, have you?
And you are lying to yourself if you feel like it didn't matter to all of those players, because it did. If you
maybe Patrick Mahomes would have gone top 5 if he would have played in the Senior Bowl.
Cody, I want to juxtapose up a list on that the players you just said of all the quarterbacks that played in the Senior Bowl that haven't done shit in the NFL, because I mean it's going to be much bigger, I'm sure. It's going to be much bigger.
Right, but you also
I don't want to over argue about this.
I want to answer CK's question though.
It was necessary to play.
Yeah, right, I got an answer for CK's question. He asked, "Why do all teams do this?" There's 3 reasons, right off the top of my head. One, tradition. Okay, think about this. The NFL originally, we didn't have social media. We didn't have as much videotape as we could before. Scouts didn't get to see players like they did before. They've always ran the draft. It's part of tradition. It's what we do. Okay, and in the NFL,
it's called the Reese's Bowl too. By the way, sponsored.
I'll have a rebuttal to this, by the way. So just
okay, cool. 2, money. Okay, because they're going to make money by doing the combine, because they broadcast it on TV.
Well, we're talking about the Senior Bowl. Let's just stick with the Senior Bowl. The Reese's.
No,
it's called the Reese's Senior Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Senior Bowl for now. Yeah,
I'm just literally sponsored.
This applies the same way.
Right. No, there's
3.
Ton of money in this.
You're looking for depth beyond the players you already know or you've already evaluated as first-round players. Okay, that's another reason you go there. It's not just to go look at the Will Levises and the CJ Strouds. You're going to go look at that tackle that's predicted a 3rd-round guy that's playing in the Senior Bowl, and you want to see how he plays. There's more to it than just the top players they're evaluating. That's what the combine's for too. I don't think that either one of those is for the players that you know are the top 10 players in the draft or are great at the top 10 players in the draft. Those guys, no matter what they do, whatever the teams want, they're going to pick them. It's the guys beyond that you're going there to scout.
Except for all the top 10 picks that I just named.
My rebuttal to that is these NFL draft or NFL scouts, GMs are all extremely busy, and I can promise you tradition plays 0 role in their want to go fly out to the Senior Bowl to watch these guys. The other part to this is you're right that they are going to see depth, but by your own admission, you said that if you can't evaluate them based off the tape you already see, then how can we trust you based on, or whatever you had said about them going to look at these guys, right? So by that same admission, then there's no point.
That.
Yeah, well, basically,
I did say that, but you don't pay as much attention to a 1st-round quarterback as you do a guy graded as a 3rd-round tackle.
Right, but you also don't get your
hands on them. There's 500 people in the world looking at quarterbacks professionally right now, and there's like one dude looking at linebackers out of the pack, whatever, like the Atlantic Coastal Conference.
Good point.
Hey, let's read the super chat
and we have a new member we didn't shout out. We have a lot of housekeeping to do.
So look, White Chocolate Espresso, your bastard son. He says, "What's the difference between the Senior Bowl and a regular college bowl game? Skipping your team bowl game is way more of a red flag." By the way, Will Levis skipped out on both of them. Skipped out on his bowl game. And skipped out on the Senior Bowl.
Why are you taking out on him?
Yeah,
because don't fucking do that.
Defend that. So,
all right.
So here's before you move on, the other part to that.
McCaffrey left on his.
Sure, but the part of it that, like for instance, the Will Levis, right? You're trying to prove that you are a top. Let's be honest, right now, a top 5 quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. Right now, there's so many, and clearly based on the fact that these arguments You're going to see. I understand Bryce Young and CJ Stroud not going, right? Because they've earned their spot as a top draft pick in the NFL.
Okay.
Who
That's
hasn't
fair.
earned their
That's a
top
fair
draft
argument.
pick is Will Levis. And so you need, if you're really confident in your abilities as a quarterback, you go play the Senior Bowl. You go to the combine.
Unless you're hurt.
I
And you're
agree with that.
trying
If you need to
to
prove
shade
stuff.
your injury a little bit, so you're not making the narrative of being hurt. And you're just trying
Then
to
his
get healthy
people need
before
to
the
do
Pro
a
Bowl.
better job. Then his people need to do a better job of saying how hurt he is. Because as of right now, the common knowledge is that he's still
Sometimes saying less is better.
apparently he is still training for all this other shit, but he's not going to do any of this other stuff.
We'll see how it pans out. Let's go.
I'm allowed to think less of him for these decisions.
Okay.
My son says Levis is a guaranteed top 10 pick. And do you by any chance have our member from way early in the show who was starred? Can we give them a shout out? We got to push through some calls.
CK, you're up.
Well. We missed you, but we came around and we found you. Tyler has said, I want to join the C3 Superfan Club. He hit that join button that you can find right below the screen here, and you can join for only $1.99. I think it's what we have it set for right now. And you get all of these incredible emojis, and Tyler has become one of the legends. Thank you and welcome to the club.
Welcome to 20C3. This is our year. We started out with an argument. This is the end of the 2022 season for us, though. Our official season, next season, starts the week after the Super Bowl. And you can be a part of it. The longest running Panthers podcast out there. Let's do another call. And then we got to get to some prize picks. And we got to power through some information, folks. Stop Tony from arguing. That's what you all have to do. It's your mission in life.
What's up, C3? This is Raleigh Panther calling in tonight. Hope you guys are having a good night. I got to say that this podcast was perfectly timed tonight with what's been probably the most eventful day so far in the NFL offseason. The two big hires in Sean Payton, D'Amico Ryans, and obviously the first press conference from our new head coach, Frank Reich. I liked what I heard from Reich today. I thought he seemed a little nervous, but, like in an endearing way, as if he's just kind of the guy that loves to coach football and doesn't necessarily love the spectacle that kind of comes along with it. But I thought his messaging was clear. His plan of attack was strong. And he seems self-aware enough to know what the strengths that he brings to this team are. So, I thought a good show of his character actually came off of Chris Jenkins' question today about the player's preference for grass over turf, and if Reich had talked to Tepper about it. Honestly, I thought this was kind of a trap question that pitted Tepper against his players and was almost forcing Reich to take sides.
I agree.
He ended up giving a really truthful answer, and I don't think that he really gave fodder for misguided media narratives to start up. But anyways, my question for you guys tonight is more so centered around David Tepper. I wanted to ask what you guys thought of the headline that came out in the last few days regarding the search to fill the coordinator positions. The way that it was framed was that Frank Reich's choice may not have aligned necessarily with ownership's first preference. The reporter, Josina Anderson, I believe, she seemed deliberate about that language. I just wanted to ask do you guys think that this is like a nothing burger story, or is this kind of another example of David Tepper meddling in something that would probably just be better off handled by those around him? Would love to hear your thoughts on that, and I hope you guys have a great night. Peace.
Appreciate you, man. CK, you want to jump on this first? I know you said earlier that you were very complimentary of Matt Rhule recently and how he's handled things. But you know what, CK? Before you answer that, David Tepper, before you answered that, let me put you on the spot a little bit. Because guess what? We got another new member, dude. Oh, shit. C3 is banging tonight. They like it when we have these toxic episodes where we're fighting all the time. So, talk to.
Well. We have yet another member of the C3 Superfan Club. David Screws has hit that join button. He said, I want to become a part of the elite group of fans that have decided to help support C3 continue to put out this content, continue to upgrade the content, and continue to show up week in and week out, regardless of whether Tony is constantly wrong or not. Welcome to the C3 Superfan Club.
Welcome. All right, then go ahead with your points. Okay, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. I think at the end of the day, there's a couple of things. I said earlier, I think David Tepper is not a great people person, right? And I think both of these things can be true at the same time. I think David Tepper and his team of people have made a really good decision, and they've addressed it appropriately. I've also been critical of the decision because I also don't know if this is a surefire win hire. But I tell you what, based on what we had available and what we've seen, I think this is one of the top tier hires, right? I think I would have preferred Wilks personally, but from the perspective, and what was the last part of that caller? Like he had wanted to address a specific point with David Tepper. Oh, it was the offensive coordinators not matching up with Frank Reich. I don't even know what that means. Like, I really don't. I mean, we don't know who it is that he wanted or who it is that he didn't want. And honestly, if it was that big of a deal, then I don't think that Frank Reich would have been hired.
Right.
Can we also talk about how he wants to potentially call play? I mean, not potentially.
He said
I hope he does.
Me too.
I love it.
Me too.
I hope he
was
does.
all in on that. And I think that makes that less problematic, like you're saying, CK, is like that if that was a big issue, he wouldn't have been the hire from the first place.
Mm-hmm. Right. So
and
I don't really
calling plays. I think that is a big plus.
Yeah, I think that the news is tweet worthy, but I don't think it's newsworthy, right? You understand what I mean? It's worthy of like reading in a tweet, maybe quote retweeting and saying like, what does this mean? But like, it's not worth an article of like concern, right? It's not one of these things you're going to find on NFL Network with like, wow, there was a difference in opinion of who they wanted as their offensive coordinator between during the hiring process. Again, I think it's a big nothing burger. I think they're going to find somebody who's going to fit the vision is of this offense. And the hope is that it's somebody that's familiar with Reich. I understand the urge to maybe go out and get one of the hot names, but I think somebody like Ben Johnson from the Eagles, who has
which I have questions. Who is this person? I thought Steichen.
No,
he was the head coaching candidate.
No,
who the hell is coming? Who is Steichen? Who's this guy?
Steichen was the OC, quarterback coach.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Everybody loves a quarterback coach.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're talking about going from an offensive coordinator, I mean, you're either hiring a fired head coach or you're hiring like a quarterback's coach for an offensive coordinator.
OC all day.
Promoting them.
I have a question for you, CK, and then we'll open it to the panel real quick.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the heart and soul of the question is who's a better hire, a clear better hire than Frank Reich. But I want to ask it this way. Who has a higher floor and a higher ceiling together, right? I think that a lot of people, and this is going to be my kind of, and I'm not going to tell you who necessarily, but I think I don't think you really say, oh, his floor is any lower than any other guy. And I don't think that for most people, you would say that the ceiling is much higher. I mean, like, is that, I don't know. I think that people want to believe that maybe the next young guy could be some superstar, but I just don't know if there's a candidate that collectively has a higher floor and higher ceiling. I think you might find somebody that has a little higher ceiling, but a lower floor. I think you might find somebody that has slightly or an equal. I don't know who is a significantly better candidate that the Carolina Panthers could have hired.
Are you talking about then Frank Reich?
Yeah.
I agree. And that's what I said in my, you might have been stepping away. I said,
no, I just wanted to ask, can we say, did the Panthers do anything? Could they have done better? And I don't know if they really could have.
They couldn't have. I don't think that there is a shot that they could have done better because it was clear that that certain people wanted to stay with their teams. It was clear that we weren't going to be willing to pay the amount of money that we needed for Sean Payton.
I don't think that would be better, arguably, CK.
Hey, listen, I would agree with you on that front 100% of the time based on how my opinion is of Sean Payton. But I also think Jim Harbaugh, right? I think if he was in the running, Jim Harbaugh hands down would have been a better option. I think now would it have been head and shoulders above Frank Reich? I don't know.
Right.
But it would have been undeniably a better option.
The lead horse.
Yeah.
He's the lead horse, right?
And
I agree with that.
But outside, like I said, my personal preference was Steve Wilks. And that
high floor, but relatively moderate ceiling.
Right. But that's the thing. And I understand. And this is where Cody was talking about, I'm going to be a little more complimentary of David Tepper. Like, number one, I'll address a couple of things and I'll be very upfront and honest with my opinions on a couple of these things. But he addressed the fact that he made a mistake with regard to Matt Rhule. Right. He said that I made a mistake. I decided to hire a head coach that was a CEO rather than a efficient person on either side of the ball.
Did he say that in his interview?
Yeah.
Wow.
David Tepper said,
I made a mistake.
Yeah,
nice.
I didn't get to hear this. I didn't get to hear the Tepper comment. So that is, wow, that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And so what we're learning is that, number one, he's learning from some of the mistakes that he's made. But also, one of the things, and we've talked about it ad nauseum, and the media has as well with regard to the race regarding, Steve Wilks and whether he was really given a fair shot. And when you look at the history of David Tepper, he has an undeniably diverse history of getting people an opportunity. And
look at who our play-by-play guy is. Like,
right.
Everybody, there's diversity.
The president, there's diversity.
People were joking the cheerleaders earlier.
Right. Well, let's even talk about Steve Wilks for a second. Do you think for a moment Steve Wilks would have been looked at as a defensive coordinator had he not been given the interim head coach position here? No, he would not have. I am sorry to tell you, he would have not been looked at twice for that San Francisco job. And so right now, Steve Wilks has more opportunity because he was given the opportunity over many other people that were on this team as coaches. So if you want that's where I'm saying we got to stop calling people things that there's a clear track record that they aren't, right? There is so much evidence that shows that David Tepper is not making hires based on skin color. And when you make put that at the priority of your opinion, then you're really diminishing when there's real problems. This is not a real problem. The problem down in Miami, probably a real problem. Right. The problem in Arizona when Steve Wilks got fired, probably a real problem. Hell, you could even talk about Houston and Lovie Smith if they didn't just hire D'Amico Ryans, right? Like, so
this one also just kind of sucks, and that's just the end of the world, is that sometimes people go up for jobs and they're fully qualified and they just don't get them.
Yeah.
Right. But at the end of the day, Frank Reich, at the end of the day, when we go back and look at the tape, there's one real difference. And Frank Reich, it can call the plays on offense. Yeah. And he's a former quarterback. And at the end of that's a real difference. It's not a this and that difference. It is what we have talked about for years on this podcast about moving to an offensive guy that can rebuild a system when the coaches get plucked and this and that. It's not a takeaway from Wilks. It just says this: Wilks, if you were a quarterback instead of a cornerback, you would have this fucking job.
Yeah.
You have the leadership skills, you have all of that. But the problem is that we just don't, that's not your side of the ball.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
Yeah. So we have two clips that are kind of talking about all of the things that we're talking about. He even spoke on the Steve Wilks issue. Like I said, give David.
I'm glad he talked on this. This is a big deal. I thought he dodged it. I didn't see this, so I'm happy about this.
No, so this is what you said about Matt Rhule and the mistakes that he made.
The challenge you have is, and I made this mistake. I think it's a mistake to have a CEO type head coach. Okay, that's a mistake. Just in general, that's what I kind of believe. So I think you want to get somebody who's really good on offense or really good on defense.
Okay.
So that's basically what he has to say about, about the and then also we're talking about diversity and apparently he was asked about this as well. And this is what he had to say. This is from Vashti Hurt, the Carolina Blitz. And then I'm going to read some super chats.
Executive team and inside the building, and look at who we have in different positions inside our building. Our president is a woman. We have probably the most diverse executive team in the NFL right now. We have 2 African Americans. We are probably a minority of white.
It's always weird when you start counting them.
Right, that's where it starts. That's America. Okay, that's the process. And that's the process I'm talking about here. You don't want an old boys network. You don't want, I don't care. The old boys network works all kinds of different ways. Okay. Unfortunately, it is in this case, it's a detriment because most of the old boys were white. So that should be your main focus. How do you break that old boys network? How do you break that process to get you that old boys network? You break the process by trying to get the best people possible in every role you can do.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
It happens to be an African-American woman, whether it happens to be Frank Reichs, who's a Caucasian male. I don't care who it is, whether we go through offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, who is the best person? Not whether you had a formal relationship with him, not who you knew, but who is that best person? And some of that best person, as Frank said,
he needs to turn it back now.
That chemistry, right?
Rein it in,
important.
David.
But listen, we hire people. We have, like I said, you have a $500,000 person come into our office. 8 people see that person. The final decision will be, might be the president of the organization, might be Frank. But when you're vetting head coaches, Scott should have an input, very big input, and Dan should have a very big input into that process. I mean, those are the 3 guys that should have major inputs into that process. And we should be going through.
What about your wife?
People who could be the best in that position. Now they have to have a fit in there, but you want to break the old boys network. That's what the key is. This is not a purple, orange, black, white. This is the old boys network, and it works.
Should have stopped talking a minute ago.
Okay? And that's what you want to break.
He pulled a Tony, guys.
He pulled
a Tony. Nah, like he had some really good points, and then it was just like, man, we got it. Purple, black.
You get the essence of what he was saying.
Yeah.
I don't want to just dismiss important conversations and feelings that people have and realities that are truly in the world. I don't want to dismiss those, but I do want to say this. Or not say this, not like me, but I said it last week. It's sadly the world's just unfair, right? Like, I mean, it just happens that some people have money, some people don't. Some people, you know what I mean? I'm short, other people are tall. Some people get to dunk the basketball, some people don't. Right. I mean, sadly, the world does have realities to it.
Yeah.
I think, though, to overlay entirely the Carolina Panthers head coaching search to the historical discussion of race makes it a difficult conversation for anybody to win or to profit or to it's like you gotta think about this. The Carolina Panthers are an organization that's like 30 years old. There's more nuances. Like, I'm not saying that that's not part of the reality of the world that the Carolina Panthers exist in, but there also is more to it than that. And the very fact to me is that they didn't want to have a defensive coach. At the end of the day, so maybe it's like it does. It sucks for Wilks. It sucks when you go in and you interview for a job and your resume is comparable to the other person in some ways, or at least maybe not comparable. Maybe you don't have the experience, but you have the qualifications. You answer the questions well. Have you guys ever not gotten a job? I have. I've been to interviews and not gotten a job. And at the same time, I don't think that I'm not saying that there weren't. Look, sometimes it just doesn't happen. And I'm not trying to dismiss anything, but I do think there is, in the context of the Carolina Panthers being defensive, and then a snake oil salesman. Like, it was like this is we need that change of pace. So if we really want to argue a difference, maybe we should have hired a different offensive guy. You want to talk about that, I guess. I just think it was a real clear-cut plans and welcome decision on my part.
Yeah, I have no quarrel with the decision. Like I said, I
just
had
want an offensive guy.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next call. I think.
This is Tanner up in Elkin. It's been a while since I called, but finally got something to be excited about. So I'm calling back. I'm saying, I wanted Wilks as our coach, but we got Reich, and I'm pumped about it. And I've never been one to say, let's mortgage the future. Let's trade up, give everybody else our picks for the rest of eternity. But there's one guy that's worth doing that for. I'd say trust and trust. Let's go after Lamar Jackson. Let's get him. Let's bring him to Carolina, get this running quarterback, and get a championship team going. Thank you.
I'm not taking it. I know I'll make you mad.
Yeah, I think we tackled this one quite a bit.
Have you heard about the recent rumors about him and Chicago and the three-way trade going to Atlanta?
Who said that a few weeks ago? Didn't I say that exact trade a few weeks ago? Lamar Jackson, Chicago.
Well, they're talking about also maybe Atlanta getting them in a three-way trade.
Well, I don't know if anybody's saying who is going to get them. I think right now they're saying there's going to be there's a potential for a three-way trade between the Bears, Atlanta, and the Ravens. And the only thing that makes sense to me is the Bears to get Lamar, and then the Fields going to Atlanta, and both Baltimore or Baltimore getting both of the firsts for Lamar, essentially.
From who?
Getting a first from the Bears and a first from Atlanta. So Atlanta basically giving away their like seventh for Fields, and Chicago is giving away their first for Lamar, essentially. But both of those first going to Baltimore. That's the only scenario.
You might not blame any of them for it. And I've been a big fan of like, hey, I would take Lamar any day of the week.
Sure.
And I've also advocated that since Lamar has been all about that guaranteed money, we have one of the owners that actually can put the money in that required escrow account that they have to do. But just what you guys brought up with that tweet earlier about the salary cap, like I feel like we would have to just cut the whole team.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like,
really don't know
I know there's magic you can do with the salary cap, but I don't think we're in the running for that, sadly. Scariest part about Lamar, are you scared if he goes to Atlanta?
No.
What?
I am.
Oh man,
I'm scared Justin Fields comes to Atlanta too. I don't want either one of them to come to Atlanta.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. Actually, when you put it that way, fuck that is I watched Mike Vick, that savage ass motherfucker, terrorize me through college and into the NFL. We drafted Thomas, I think it was Thomas Davis, specifically to fucking deal with Mike Vick. Tired of that. Keep them motherfuckers out. Bring Matt Ryan back. Matt Ryan. I don't want none of that.
My reason why I'm not so worried if they go to Atlanta is if you're having to pay him that amount of money and you're giving away your first, they're already a team that's in major need of pieces to be built up. Like they are not a quarterback away.
Didn't we split with them?
No, we did split with Atlanta.
We split with them, but we almost won that. We should have won that one. But
there have been a lot of should-haves tonight.
Yeah, but that was PJ Walker, and that was that DJ Moore penalty, and then the two kicks from Eddie Pinheiro.
I'm just saying, like, he
didn't lose that game for us.
Don't even fucking start that.
That's why I say I'm like you're talking about now giving away draft picks. On top of that, you're going to be giving a guaranteed contract to a guy who's coming off of a potential knee injury. On top of all of that, I wouldn't scare me as much because they don't have the team to build around him like he had in Baltimore. He would be in a worse situation and less protected.
In a terrible division. You're right. I mean, you might be right. People are asking this. We're going to go to the next call. I want you to think about this, guys. When it comes to should we trade, if we could trade with the Bears straight up, our number 9 for Justin Fields, right? One of the things that has been interesting to me is that I was on that draft show that day, 2 years ago when we picked JC Horn, and I was I was all in on Justin Fields.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. My question now, and I want you guys to think about this as we listen to the next call, is one of the things is we tell ourselves getting a quarterback in the first round gives you 5 years with him, right? Like you get this big window.
Right.
So if we trade for Justin Fields,
we lose a little bit of that.
We don't have the size of the window.
I
understand that, but did you also sacrifice? Did someone else just do the developmental years for you? And you're getting the kind of the guy who's been through the rhythms of the system, like he's not a rookie either. So
I mean, it's only 2
is there a
years.
big difference? Is there a big difference?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, but you've got to keep in mind on that front, Justin Fields hasn't developed as a thrower as well as you think he should have by at the end of his second year. He has been a runner, and they have utilized him in that way. And you can blame the coaching staff, but I'll tell you what, I'm tired of taking quarterbacks that we blame coaching staffs for their failures. Right?
That's fair.
We're over that. So I would rather, to be quite honest, what Justin Fields brings to the table, you might, and this is going to be controversial, I know it, but you might as well take Anthony Richardson. You've got the same athleticism, if not more athleticism than Justin Fields with Anthony Richardson, with a similar upside with the throwing talent, with the arm talent.
Now, I will say I get what you're saying completely, but I do think Justin Fields can throw the ball better. There's no wide receivers in Chicago. Imagine what Justin Fields would do with DJ Moore, because when he was in college, he could throw the ball when he had receivers like Olave in them. He could throw the ball. So I mean, he just hasn't had anybody to throw the ball to, like anybody.
I just don't know if we're set back. If we got him now, it's almost like those 2 years that were foundational. We just didn't have to deal with them.
Yeah,
and maybe you're getting the guy that could be stepping into a more polished. But you're right. I'm just hoping. I'm just hoping.
Don't we also agree that he's in a really bad coaching situation up there? So how are we assuming that their fundamentals are working?
I don't know enough to comment about how bad it is. It does seem like they've been tanking on purpose. They got the Eberflus guy, which I believe
their offense
is part of the Reich tree. So we need to be a little cautious in saying how shitty the coaching is, since Eberflus came from Frank Reich's tree.
Yeah, but the O-line, the receivers, I
hope that's not the case. No, I understand. I guess my whole point is just is that the developmental years they happened potentially, but we didn't have to actually be the developmenters. Maybe we're getting him at a time where he's stepping into what he could be. But you're right. There's nothing to believe that. You're right.
I would rather Justin Fields and bet on that than spend all the guaranteed money bringing Lamar Jackson here.
I agree with that. I would rather.
Or what about this? Is that would you rather take Will Levis over Justin Fields? People would say no.
It's hard for me to.
I mean, I think there would be some. Right. But like, I think even this is like, say the quarterback who is the best. Pick your ideal quarterback here. If you guys have told me that Justin Fields was head and shoulders a better prospect coming out, then why? Anyway, never mind. Let's go to the next call. 252-228-5098. I would not be upset with us rocking with Justin Fields, third-year quarterback.
Yeah.
With Frank Reich.
I'm down.
I would fuck with it. I would fuck with that. You guys make fun of me for wanting to draft Will Levis. Don't make fun of me for this.
I'm just not going to trade the number 9 draft pick.
And
who cares?
Go get DeAndre Hopkins.
Joey the bottom.
Yeah. Well, no, too expensive, man. We ain't got the money.
It's the growl that makes him howl, a.k.a. Joey the bottom Panther. I've been on hiatus from the cat calls last week because I was in Florida staying with some family, and I didn't want them to hear how crazy I really was about the Panthers when I did my roar. But about Frank Reich,
scare people with that roar.
I get why Frank Reich was hired. He did get screwed in Indianapolis. He checks all the Tepper boxes, but he's not Steve Wilks. I really wanted Steve Wilks. I mean, I think Steve Wilks, this plays right into the lawsuit, and it's not even that, dude. Steve Wilks deserved the job.
But Frank Reich, what is he known for? Being good with quarterbacks. What did he not have in Indianapolis? A quarterback. And Cody, this is your day, buddy. This is your day because you know what? Your boy now has a coach who's known for getting a lot out of a quarterback. I mean, Carson Wentz,
let's go, baby.
the bum of the century, was MVP when Frank Reich was his offensive coordinator. So, and he did fine in Indianapolis. I mean, Phillip Rivers got to the playoffs and he was old and on his way out. So could you imagine what a rookie Matt Corral would be able to do, and like Frank Reich being able to basically, it's like getting a computer program. Like it's like building a computer from scratch. You get to do whatever, you get to make that thing do whatever you want. And that's what Frank Reich is going to have with Matt Corral. That's the direction we go, which I think it is, because why do you, if not, why don't you keep Steve Wilks? And I know David Tepper is not that smart, but still. But I'll leave you with that. Anyway, guys.
Wow. Can I ask, the only thing about that comment he makes there is if you think that Corral is good enough for Reich, does that mean, and you were pulling for Wilks, doesn't that kind of kill your argument if you were thinking that Corral wasn't good enough, like Wilks wasn't a good enough coach to coach Corral to be the quarterback, but we think that Frank Reich can, but you think that Steve Wilks is a better coach? Those, it seems like you're kind of chopping down your own argument there. Does that make sense?
No, I don't think you're chopping down the argument. I think you're actually just making the argument for Reich.
Yeah,
I think people have
that.
I think that's been the whole thing, is there's been no argument against Wilks. There's just been a little bit more for somebody else, or in this case,
I have
Reich.
I have 4 super chats that I have not read yet. White chocolate espresso with the $4.99. Get used to that name, by the way. AR skipping the bowl game is a bigger red flag.
Wow.
Way over Senior Bowl. Almost 90% skip the bowl game. And I guess don't draft them. Cody sucks ass.
Thank you, son.
What then? It comes back. Says Buck had a pull hall. Fuck Peyton. So that's awesome. I love that. David Screws said, I'm looking forward to that no huddle offense. Appreciate you, David.
Quick
and
tempo works in the NFL because they can't sub.
White Chocolate Espresso says, drunk. Fuck Cody.
Thank you, son. See, look, he's just trying to earn his way into the family.
Mad at your father, not me. I forgive you.
This is what I want to ask as we go to the next question about Frank Reich. I've been very excited, very complimentary. I just thought he had a very good interview today with me as a person. Like, it's like, that's what I wanted to hear. It's fine. So some people said that it was awkward at times, rattled. I think CK, I forget how you described it, but there was just moments that it could have been better. I think some people, right? Cringy is the word you use. Was the cringe this? Was it Frank Reich dodging questions, or is it just really, at the end of the day, bad interview skills for us to ask 2-part questions? Because I feel like every question that we have a problem with his answer, it was just like, oh, why'd you ask 2? Like, maybe he should have been taking notes, I guess. But I guess what I'm asking is this. Is it the problem with the way you ask the question, or is he actually dodging the question? Because they asked him, like, what do you think about the quarterbacks on the roster? And he was just like,
he didn't even answer.
Forgot about that one.
Yeah, I didn't even answer it. Well, the thing is it seemed like it was almost you're going to get one opportunity to ask questions. So I'm going to get all the questions I want to ask in as with this. This is
your only chance,
right? So I don't blame them for asking 2-part questions. the Charlotte Vibe one was not a 2-part. I don't think it was. He might have said, "I have one question, but then I'm going to have a follow up," and then he answered the first question and then the follow up.
And then he actually asked that the best, right?
Yeah,
because
he
you asked one
it,
and then you get it. Yeah,
it was just that Frank Reich didn't, at least quote unquote, didn't understand him because it's his fault. And here's the part that I did like is that you did humanize him. Like, ask my daughters, I do this all the time. If it's probably my fault if I'm not understanding what you're saying, but I'm going to answer it to the best of my ability. Whether that's him not actually hearing it, we can debate that. It's
right.
Again, it's literally a nothing burger, whether he did or didn't. But yeah, it just felt awkward when he went into that. And one of the callers loved it when he went in and he was talking about how, coaches have to be the final say on all these things. The players don't have a say in what happens. And he was trying to be diplomatic, but also straightforward. And I can respect it, but I also felt like it was just a weird place to say that. And I think he could have probably done some,
totally his worst answer.
Yeah.
Like it almost felt like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's how I was like,
it did go on a bit of a rant. It was a bit of a rant.
Wrong topic.
Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, like Matt Rhule would say, it's so
Let's go to the tape.
irrelevant to me. Like I at this point, like this is just a good to have the content, good to have the conversation, good to have something else to talk about other than Matt Rhule, right? Or even who we're going to be hiring. It's good to be able to move on from that. But there's nothing that I gathered from this that made me feel more or less confident in Steve and Frank Reich as our head
I think
coach.
that's completely fair. I guess the question was, I couldn't tell if it was just the 2-part questions that were problematic or if he avoided certain 2-part questions. And because he did not comment about the quarterbacks on the roster, he avoided that. Is that a ditch? It is a dive. I don't know. I thought he had a decent press conference, but those are questions to ask about how we give interviews. Another thing, if they had that impetus to ask 2 questions, which I do, when Cody and I tomorrow, by the way, we've got Jake Arthur coming on, Indianapolis Colts beat writer, to talk about Frank Reich's career in Indianapolis, 8:30 tomorrow. When Cody and I, we have to ping pong. Sometimes we both want them, we want to, while we're thinking about stuff. I understand that. My advice to these reporters in that setting next time is stand up when you ask your question. They were asking their question. They're like, "Oh, it's me over here on the left." Well, stand the fuck up. These poor guys over there. There's 100 people over there. Stand up. Just don't wave your arms.
Yeah.
Stand up and ask your question. That would be my advice. My advice also is to play PrizePicks using the promo code C3. If you go to PrizePicks, the most fun daily fantasy football sports site you can do, man, you'll have a great time. And you use the promo code C3, you get a 100% deposit bonus on your first time up to $100. And boy, even if they didn't sponsor this podcast, I'd still be playing it. I still would be playing it. I still am playing it, but I'm on like a 12 losing cooler right now. I am not going to lie. I can't get one right, folks. But thankfully, I've gotten a ton right before, so I'm still in big time plus money. But I need a big one, folks. And guess what? This is the week. Patrick Mahomes going into the Super Bowl is a free pick. We got to get the most of our money for this right now. Free square. We putting the 20 on this tonight, guys. Up to a $20, I believe, on these promotional things. We need one other in the Super Bowl. Look at this. You're getting what Patrick Mahomes would normally be $285.5. You're getting it for free. We need another pick. So, do we go Jalen Hurts over, less than? Do we go to the rushing Miles Sanders 53.5?
Do touchdowns go up?
Touchdowns. Passing
1.5 for Jalen Hurts.
Passing.
Yeah,
but that's 3.5 for both of them, though, y'all. Look at that. 4 touchdowns. That means both of them throw for 2 touchdowns.
Ooh, like that one.
And there's also the yards combined for those two. I think it was only like 527, which is only like 200.
Do we like that? Look, do we like the combined here?
I do.
Or do we like an individual? I think the combined safer here. Like if Mahomes goes off and throws 4, you still win.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like 3 points.
I like that one, Greg.
Yeah.
I like that one.
I also like Jalen Hurts at 1.5.
Oof. 5. These are some good numbers right here. Goddard. You like Goddard? He's kind of up
What's the
and
history look
down.
like?
He had it.
Yeah.
Look. Oh, he's had the numbers, man. He's good.
Yeah.
Is this the battle of the tight ends? Goddard, 5 catches. Can it happen?
Hey, what about rushing yards?
Let's see what it is. Look at that one.
Yo, dude, I don't know if y'all have noticed,
21.5.
but Isaiah Pacheco, that dude is a badass, man. That dude runs hard as
Rookie,
hell.
right?
He's
He's a
fast
rookie.
as hell. Yeah, he
He's
was
a
like
rookie.
a 7th-round draft pick.
Yeah,
Dude, the Chiefs
yeah,
know
be
how
careful.
to
You don't know. They don't
draft.
ever
Yeah,
run the
few in the
ball,
Super
man.
Bowl.
They never run the ball. They're almost like the Eagles. I don't like to bet on the, or not bet, to project the Eagles running back. They always get rushing yards, but you never know who they're coming from.
Yeah,
Right.
it's just it's
Like,
the running back by committee there.
and
What's the kicks look
Jalen
like?
Hurts counts into that. Ooh, look at this. That's a good
about-
number right
what
here.
about,
This is a
what-
fucking incredible number.
What about field goals
No?
made?
Yeah, I'll say field goals made is always a fun one to look at too.
Man, this has burnt me. I fucking hate this one.
So each of them got to make
Harrison
2.
Butker.
I've got
Yeah.
I got
I would
burned
take
on
Butker.
that. I ain't trying to fuck with it.
How
What do you
many?
guys think
No,
about
see how many.
this?
No, go to see how many Buckers had.
I do
Field
have
goals made. To the right. To the right. To the right.
1.5. Oh,
I would do it, but that's just me.
I know.
do you think Philly's defense can stop them enough to kick field goals?
Yes.
Basically, is what that's going to boil down to.
Dude, apparently Philadelphia, they're doing some all-time shit on defense.
Well, we went over that stat the other week, and I was talking about how they were second behind the Bears, and I was looking at that, and I had to go back and look at it further. Like the Bears had 72, and they had 70 over the regular season. Yeah, the Bears played
one's scary.
14 games that season for regular season, I think, and the Eagles played 17.
This
So
one's
they had 3
scary.
more games to almost.
You know
beat
what?
the
I
Bears
feel
did.
better about Miles Sanders over
You do that, do that.
63 than I do Goddard over 5 catches. There's too many
do
mouths
too.
to feed that you don't know where it's going to happen. And
You can
then,
get that in one play, 63.5.
yeah, oof.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah,
That's the
that's
easiest
golden
shit in
right
the
there.
world
Boom,
right
golden.
there, man.
Boom. We got it.
Take it.
This is our entry.
$1,000.
Ooh. You know what? I think we only get a $20 max for that.
25, I
Oh,
think,
you're
right?
allowed to-
Is it 25?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing
25.
it. Oh, I picked
you
the same
can't-
player twice. Oh,
you
this
got Patrick
one.
Mahomes
Yeah,
in there as
you-
the double.
yeah.
Oh shit!
Go get your other one that you wanted. The Sanders.
Yeah.
Well, you've already got
you
Sanders
already
in
got
there.
that, okay.
Got him.
Oh,
Don't like that.
What's
I
the
don't like that.
interceptions look like?
Ooh, that's a good one. Mahomes won.
You already got Patrick Mahomes.
Oh yeah, you
on,
can't do
so-
him.
Dang. How about pass
Rush
attempts?
This is an under right here. This is a less than 10.
yeah.
You think he's going to run more than 11 times?
No, I don't.
Okay. Oh, that's why you're saying it's an under.
Dude.
Okay, I got you.
Okay. I would also
Yeah.
do the passing touchdowns too, but that's just me.
For who? That was only we already did that.
For Hurts.
Where?
He thinks Hurts
Passing
is going to throw for
touchdowns.
2
Yeah, and
touchdowns at least. And he may.
1.5.
What do he throw
Think he's
for?
gonna throw 2. What's better, chat? 2, less than. That's a lot of rushes, bro.
No, you're right.
But they don't have to
It
be
is-
designed. So it could just be a scramble. That's a rush.
Still a
Gain
lot.
1 yard.
How
That's a rush.
many have Hurts gotten? Ooh.
That's what I'm saying.
Wow,
Like,
really?
he doesn't
Wait, that's
throw a ton of
passing
touchdowns.
touchdowns. That's
man.
passing touchdowns.
He doesn't throw a ton
Oh.
of touchdowns. Yeah.
How do we get back to that? What was it? Rushing
Go back
attempts?
to rushing attempts.
Where the hell is it? Rush, pass. Right here.
You lost it. It's not there anymore.
Oh, that one's close. That might not feel as good. Actually, I don't like
I
that.
told you, man.
I don't
That's
feel that
rough.
good.
I would do the passing touchdowns.
Yeah, I think you're right. We're going with it.
All right. We'll see what happens.
I think it's going to be less on that. I'm going back to that Russian one later. I'm going. I ain't going to place just one on that.
But yeah, hey, download PrizePicks today and play daily fantasy sports with us. Make sure you use the promo code C3 when you sign up. All first-time users that deposit and use our C3 promo code receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. If you deposit 100, PrizePicks will give you 100. If you deposit 50, PrizePicks will give you 50. That's prizepicks.com, promo code C3. If you want to help support us, support our sponsors, man.
Hey, did you see it's Matt Corral's birthday?
I damn sure did.
Holy cow. We're shouting them out right now. Thank you, brother. We got to be on top of this chat. You guys got to message me. One of the things I want to do is start putting out happy birthday shorts to like all Panther players.
Know that it's his birthday.
Oh,
shit! All right.
Well, you gotta message me.
Cody's the GM.
Man, by the way,
look at that.
By the way, I've already got 100. I got 176 likes on this bad boy.
That's real. That's real, bro. And Cody knows how to fucking work Twitter. Let's go to one more call. I think this is the last one of the night. And unless somebody screams at me for missing some, I'm not playing stuff from 6
What's going on, family? D. Sanford, North Carolina.
What up, dude?
I was waiting for this. I had to chime in on this one. I'm highly optimistic, very highly optimistic, but cautious. I don't want to get my heart broken. I'm like that jaded girl that's done been in a bunch of bad relationships, and now here's something that looks really attractive and good. Don't know if I can put all my heart into it, but I'm going to sit back and wait and have nothing but high optimism. I like the fact that they mentioned Foreman. It makes me feel the big old Deontay coming back. We get Bozeman back, gets Burns back. I think this is a sexy and attractive hire for us just off of the grounds that we have talent here. We have quite a bit of talent here. Frank Reich, he's got to be a good evaluator of talent. Like, come on, he's been on the Super Bowl Eagles team. He's played in this league. He's done a lot. I just feel like at the end of the day, Frank Reich, at least for the press conference, the feel, the vibe, how everything went, that maybe we have found our dude to lead us to the promised land. I'm going to be continuing to pray for it. I'm also just so highly excited and interested to see what kind of moves that we're going to make in the off season, free agent wise, and also our draft strategy. But Sean Payton, we all knew the Saints really weren't going to do business with us. They knew that Sean Payton was not going to go against them twice a year. And we really didn't need to give up that compensation for him. So at the end of the day, I'm quite happy on the decision that they made. Eat pound.
That's the call of the night for me in some ways. I mean, he really hit a lot of good points on the head.
Yep.
And I guess maybe we should just talk briefly about Sean Payton going to the Denver Broncos, D'Amico Ryans. I mean, we kind of mentioned this earlier. And I think he's just right, it was kind of silly. It would have been overboard for us, I think, to do it. And CK has been the voice of reason on this for weeks and weeks about the Sean Payton stuff, is that we just were looking for a splash. And I think we got a good car. It's like you're 16 years old and you want your parents to come home with a sports car, but they come home with a nice vehicle for you when you're 16 instead of something that's flashy on the outside and costs too much for you to maintain going forward. I don't know. I don't even, you know what? The weirdest part about the Broncos shit, guys, is that they barely wanted Sean Payton.
That's the weird part about that. I love this, way that this went down, because it tells me that, well, the part of it is reasonable, right? Why give up another first round? I mean, they're already reeling from giving up so much for Russell Wilson. Why give up something for somebody that that's going to be free next year, or go after a guy like D'Amico Ryans, who's highly sought after as well? I just, I find that it's absolutely hysterical. It's like the opposite of what happened with us with Rhule. Rhule is the Broncos in this situation. Rhule, got our offer. He went to the Giants first to say, "Hey, listen, I'd like to try, but you're not interested." Yeah, we're gonna go with you, Carolina. It's kind of the opposite, right?
They let him hang out there.
Yeah.
I do think this is the necessary move for the Broncos. I don't think they have the luxury of working with a coach who's unproven time in this. They already tried that this past year. They've leveraged all that shit for Russell Wilson. It needs to work. It needs to work now. If you're the Broncos, it can't work in 3 or 4 years. You can't come in here and say, "Oh, we're going to give this coach time to build around this."
Right.
And so you're going to bring in a guy that you believe that or the expectations are there for him to win at any season and any moment, and not that, slow, steady the course. That's my feeling there.
But listen to this, because look at what all the Broncos went through to not hire Sean Payton. Like, it seemed like they were actively trying to get anyone other than Payton. So this is via Ian Rappaport. Unbelievable. The Broncos spent today trying to hire DeMeco Ryans again today before he recommitted to the Texans. When he agreed to terms with the Texans, they moved and finalized Sean Payton. So there's Ryans. They secretly tried to lure Jim Harbaugh away from Michigan.
Not secretly. We all watched it happen.
Hold on. I mean, no. I mean, apparently after the whole DeMeco Ryans thing.
Okay, so
they got on a plane. Yeah, they got on a plane to Michigan. Hold on, but then it's hilarious. They negotiated a Sean Payton deal and then tried to hire DeMeco Ryans again. They tried to convince him to come away from the Texans and come back to the Denver Broncos. And when that didn't happen, only then did they finalize the hire of Payton as their new head coach. Now
he can do whatever he wants, though. Now he's got their balls in a fucking vice grip.
Yeah, but dude, in my mind, after giving up the amount of trade capital that they did for Russell Wilson, they did not want to do it again for sure. And yet they had no choice. They had to.
Yeah, they put all their eggs in the basket of these three coaches, and the fact that it was down to one left, they were kind of forced into this. And I love the fact that people are praising the Saints and their back office for getting them what they did for Sean Payton. I'm like, dude, like, they did absolutely nothing. This was going to happen regardless of whether they were like, they just had to answer a phone call. And honestly, the fact that the reported asking price for him was 2 first-round draft picks and they didn't get it. I don't understand why everybody's just jumping on this bandwagon of the Saints just did this incredible thing. They basically just took a first-round draft pick.
It is nice to get a first-round draft pick for a guy that doesn't want to be your coach anymore. That's pretty cool.
And when you didn't have one,
right?
You didn't have one.
They don't have one. That's a 2024 one.
As we're talking about trades,
no, they had one. No, they had one in 2023. They had a late-round draft pick.
They gave it. I think they got it from somebody for Chubb. They got it from the Dolphins for Bradley Chubb.
For Chubb.
That's how they got it. Because they shouldn't have any draft picks because of the Russell Wilson, but they got number 1 for Chubb. That's how they did
trade
this.
a 1 for. They traded a
they
second
did.
for
They
Chubb.
gave a 1 and a 2 for Sean Payton and a 2. Yeah, they got a first round.
Mm-hmm.
They gave a
first round. They gave a first round, but I was.
It was this year's first, next year's second, and they get and the Broncos get Sean Payton and they get the Saints next year's second.
Yeah, I see it.
Go into this. Can we shift real quickly to quarterback news throughout the NFL as we look at free agents?
Well, we still had two more slides.
I thought that was a slide that we were going to talk about with Derek Carr and now the trading. We were just talking about trading. I just want to bring this up. That Derek Carr has I read a story on The Athletic today that said Derek Carr, they have not given him permission to seek a trade. So when you brought up Sean Payton out there working for himself, he was on the beat. He was out there courting people. The Saints, like you said, just sat back there and waited. The Raiders have not granted Derek Carr permission to seek a trade, but they have to trade him by February 15th. The new league year start, or if he goes into free agency, they get fucked. They got to pay a ton of money. But this is what I read, is that they don't want him working on his own trade deal because they're worried that his agent may be kind of saying, well, if we don't get the trade done, this is what we'll sign for in free agency. So they're worried that him out there lobbying for his so-called trade could screw them. He's going to get paid from the Raiders anyway if he doesn't get traded. So they're trying to keep him away. That's all I was saying, is that the Raiders right now have to get something for Derek Carr or they get screwed. They're going to get screwed financially anyway. They don't want, and they're worried about it. They need to get something. So he will come cheap. Cody, what's next? He's on mute.
No, my bad. We don't have to spend
what a crazy
too long.
Topic.
We don't have to spend too long on it. I think this even might have been prompted by my guy John from One Carolina, Big John. Shout out to John. He was on the reaction stream earlier. And there was like a conversation, after Hassan Reddick has been balling the fuck out in the playoffs, looking like a young Vaughn.
It's cutting out, folks. Cutting out. He said this. He said Hassan Reddick's looking like a young Von Miller. And now, Cody, you cut out. Tell us what you said after that.
Yeah, and now people are questioning, is Brian Burns on the same kind of level as a Hassan Reddick? And his brother, Hype Man Lucci, vehemently came to his defense on Twitter, man. He said, I'm good with fans having opinions about my brother. It's the nature of the business. But some assholes got to be put in place every now and then. Even though my brother will never address you, I will. And I don't give a damn where you want to take it. Keep pounding.
I like it.
Good big brother. Good big brother right there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see. I would be very interested. I'd love for him to come on the show and just without a gotcha. It's not a gotcha segment. It's not a moment to be critical about Brian Burns or anything. It's just, what were those assholes ultimately saying that really prompted you in this moment to be, what's the difference between the opinion and the asshole in that take? I'm wondering what that was. We talked a lot about Brian Burns going forward as the importance of this team. Some people brought up is that he was not at the press conference today.
Dude's
but then I saw
training.
other people say that he was in Hawaii at the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, he's probably doing
So I don't know, and nor do I really care. I'm interested. What do you think? Why do you think he's this upset? Just that, man. Why do you think that because this is prompted. You guys all said good job right here. Older brother coming and doing this. But what do you think that take was that goes beyond someone's measured opinion? What was it? It can't just be that we should have kept Hassan Reddick, because that's a legitimate conversation. He had 17 and a half sacks this year. You can't be like, that's stupid.
Dude,
it's social media, man.
You have heard the Friday free-for-all. Fans have some wild opinions, man. And they're not afraid of voicing them.
Yeah.
So
okay. Just curious what it was.
A lot of people wanted to trade Brian Burns next year.
Interesting stuff.
Well,
What's
if you were
next?
getting the offers for him, I mean, I can understand why people felt that way, but I mean, it's hard to argue. I mean, I know it's, when, Tony, you've had a maybe differing opinion on this, but when you look at the numbers he's put up better numbers than anybody in our franchise in the past 7 or 8 years.
True. I've been dropping, and I'm trying to stick with this. Hopefully I will keep my momentum on YouTube. We're getting in the shorts game a little bit. If you guys can thumbs up when you see some stuff, and really just inform me if you like the content or not. Like, I mean, in a nice way, is like, do you want something different? What are some ideas we can continue to deliver this diverse content? But what I've been trying to do is half of it has been stealing from this little desk count. Don't tell them, because they'll probably try to charge me. And I've just been trying to make a daily trivia question and a little short that's just fun. Today's on February 1st, or yesterday's because it just turned February 1st. 131 was who was the sack leader for the 2020 Panthers with 9 sacks, and it was Brian Burns. Right. So you're right, is that he has been the guy consistently.
Yeah.
It's just that last year it was Reddick, so you couldn't ask that question last year. But at the same time, it was only 9.
Well,
I mean, he's been good. He's been a very good player.
What I mean, and what my point is that
can we put the Shaq up and I continue, CK?
I would say that as a collect, what I mean is over his first 4 years, there, even if you go back 8 years, right? Like Shaq Thompson, or not Shaq Thompson, Brian Burns
would have been
potentially has one of the best stat lines, even going back 8 years.
We were good in 2017, right?
Total stats. That's my whole point is he's what 9, 18, 27 plus what do you have this year? 14, 15.
He had his
sacks?
best year this year. Year this year.
So he's already in 4 years averaging over 10 yards per year, even though it was 9 the first 3.
Okay. No, he's been he's important to our defense. He's been very consistent. And this is how I would argue it is, like you're saying, is I've been critical a little bit, or maybe whelmed at times by Brian Burns as just a superstar. I think he's kind of a star. I don't think he's a guy that across the league, if you weren't a Panthers fan, you would be like, oh, Brian Burns is the dude. Maybe some people would that saw him in the division. But I do think this is that today somebody brought this up on Twitter, and I hope we have the slide. I threw it in there, and that was about Shaq Thompson and the necessity of him renegotiating his contract. I think it was in response to that David Newton tweet. But the thing that I thought was, and I wasn't trying to be combative, I want to ask you guys this. Somebody said, look, Shaq, and this is actually the real question about Shaq, is that we have had such great linebackers in our history. And we have been certainly spoiled. I mean, we've been spoiled from Dan Morgan all the way till Luke Kuechly's exodus in so many ways. And sometimes people say we hold that against Shaq. So he says, like, hey, he's better. And he said he's better than people get it credit for. He's not just, he called him a jag, just another guy. But I think there's a little legitimate conversation to ask. Is Shaq really better than average, or is he kind of just of another guy? And I'm not trying to be mean about it, but I think Brian Burns has been more of a star in his time as a Carolina Panther than Shaq Thompson has.
100%.
Yeah, I agree. But here's the other part that I'll say with regard, to Shaq Thompson's credit, he's made it through potentially 3 coaching regimes, multiple defensive coordinators. He's got his first contract. He could have easily been gone, right? So the dude's doing something behind the scenes to keep himself super relevant.
Right.
And so it's hard to say because we don't see a lot of this, and it's similar to maybe his role on that defense is similar to an offensive line, right? A lot of times if you don't hear their name called, it's a good thing. And so maybe that's what we're seeing with Shaq. We're not seeing him getting beat all the time. We're not seeing him not tackle people efficiently. We're just not seeing him make those plays consistently. We're not seeing him get the interceptions. We're not seeing him forcing the fumbles. We're not seeing him getting
pretty good.
But I think he's got really good fundamentals. I just don't know that he's I would say he's above average. I would agree with that. I think he's above average, but I don't think he's at a
it's not much
level.
It's not much above average. That's what I would put. Here, tell me if we heard this call. I've missed a couple calls in the past, and this was from, I think, 2 days ago.
Oh, guys, C3, it's JJ. I kind of wanted to, reemphasize this, because I'm sure we're going to talk about the draft a lot now that we have our coach with Frank Reichs, but Cody mentioned in the last podcast he didn't want to miss out on premium talent by drafting a quarterback. And That's cool. That's amazing, because there's a risk at quarterback because you want to depend so much on the quarterback position. If he misses, it's a big loss and a big waste of a pick. But granted, it's like that with every position, not just quarterback. Every pick is a gamble. He mentioned that. But I just want to go back 2 years ago when that was the plan. We passed up on Justin Fields because we had traded for Sam Darnold. We went after the premium talent. And then sure enough, we drafted J.C. Horn, and he's a premium talent that plays 40% of games and wasn't even the best at his position. Surtain, two-time Pro Bowler, first team All-Pro. We missed out on Michael Parsons.
J.C. Horn's better than Surtain
by a large margin.
And then we missed out on a possible franchise quarterback in Justin Fields. So that whole let's go after premium talent, it could still blow up in our face, even worse than swinging and missing on a quarterback. Because at least you took an emphasis at going after our biggest hole. And I feel like once you emphasize and address that, it's a lot easier to build a team after that. But you've heard me say that a million times. I'm sure you guys get tired of it. Love the show. Love everyone
Y'all
there.
both can be right.
Sorry I missed the Friday free for all. Use code C3 on PrizePicks. You all know that. Just keep timing.
That's a radio pro right there. He's a podcast pro. We got him dropping the. Both can be right.
What do you mean both can be right? Actually, you both can be right.
Right.
He can be right and y'all can be right. I agree 100 about y'all and JC and Surtain. It is unfortunate that JC has not played been healthy the whole time. That is unfortunate, but I think in the sample set we've seen, we feel better ahead that I'd still probably make that pick and just hope that JC didn't have the injury history.
Sure.
But I think where he can also be right is that don't deflect and use sleight of hand of a pretty good player, because he hasn't been healthy. He's not like a Hall of Famer all of a sudden. He's not Pro Bowler all of a sudden. Don't use that as sleight of hand, as we shouldn't have taken a quarterback. But is that if you would have hit or even come close to hitting on a quarterback instead of J.C. Horn, the team would be significantly better at this point. Imagine if you had Justin Fields right now and you were picking at 9.
Right.
Are you in a better spot today if you are the Carolina Panthers with the exact same team? And I know that's a trivial example because the team would not be the same.
That's a good
but
question.
I've continued to say this, though, is that, you can pick those players and they do impact your team in the long run. But until you get that quarterback, who gives a fuck if you got the best roster, the Cleveland Browns? Who gives a fuck who the best safety is? Now, maybe a tackle, maybe an end. I'll listen to you. But it's the QB, bro.
I agree.
Until
but I
get
also,
that, it don't matter.
I think that there's also a part of this that I think is worth at least expressing, and that is this could have worked out the best possible way ever, right? If we get a guy that is the quarterback, and we've drafted in the past 4 drafts, J.C. Horn, Derek Brown, Ike Ekwonu, right? We've went with talent, and now we put that quarterback in that role. We're all of a sudden, and don't think I'm comparing the two.
No, but you got to get him, and that's what he's kind of saying.
Right.
It's if we just do that again and punt on the quarterback,
100%. Yeah, you've got to take the shot. You can't continue to recycle these quarterbacks. You've got to move on to a guy you think is the future of this team, and you can't continue to just go out and try. All of a sudden, we're going to start to be the place that quarterbacks go to die. Right. At some point, that's what we're going to be.
This is exactly why, though, I think Frank Reich is going to be an excellent fit here because of his experience in Indy with going through 4 quarterbacks. He said the key is we need stability. Now, we've heard that from our previous coaches. We heard that from Matt Rhule, this and that. But the thing with Matt Rhule and that previous regime is they went out and did the right thing. They went out and be careful. I don't want to go too far and say that, but they said, look, we're going to get a bridge quarterback and then try to get the guy. But they never went and got the guy. And Indy did the same fucking thing. They went bridge, and never got the guy in the background. So what I think we know now is that the Panthers are going to go bridge no matter what. If that could be fucking Aaron Rodgers, it could be Derek Carr, it could be Matt Corral. I don't think Matt Corral counts for that. But they're still going to say this. We can't just sit with that and expect it. I think they do that and draft a QB. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I think that's the lesson they've learned is that works for next year. But where the fuck are we the year after that? We need to be ready.
The argument I would have is they are going to do that, but they are not going to be going and trading assets away to try to make that happen.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
I know. I agree with you. I like letting it come to you at 9.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I mean is like what I for the bridge. So for instance, Carr right now would cost assets. Even if it's a 3rd round pick, it's costing assets, right? They're not going to be going and doing that.
Who cares about that?
And then you're going to have to pay him on top of that, right?
But he's getting a shit ton of money from the Raiders, so you don't have to pay him like straight up.
You're still gonna
he's gonna want money, yeah.
And then you go about Aaron Rodgers. They're going to require an amazing draft capital to go after. Aaron Rodgers.
He's trying to win next year. I don't think that fits us.
So
who's a better option than Carr? I guess.
Even if you go Jimmy Garoppolo, he's still under didn't he sign an extension? He's still technically going to need to be traded from the 49ers.
I thought he just did a 1-year deal. I might be wrong.
I'm pretty sure he did an extension. If I'm not
remember,
mistaken.
he came back after Trey Lance got hurt.
Yeah.
Can I ask?
Where he was on the sidelines, they tried to trade him. Maybe on I don't know. I don't know what the details are. My question to you though is that look, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, those guys are ridiculously old. You could talk shit about them. You could say you're going to win with them, but we're not the team for them. Right. I mean, it's just not the case. Is that the Carolina Panthers are not the team that, you might make the playoffs because you have a shitty division, but you can't really realistically believe you are Super Bowl bound and you're just a quarterback away. If you look at the Carolina Panthers and say that, you're fucking an idiot. So I think this is where is that quarterback has to be kind of in that Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, Derek Carr type range, or you risk it for the biscuit with Matt Corral and a rookie. And I don't even know if you want to do that. Why do you want to be an asshole to a rookie like that? Even if you get Will Levis or CJ Stroud at 7, what has everybody told us? They won't need to throw them wolves to the fire right away.
But why not? That's what they trained for, is to come to be an NFL quarterback. I mean, I don't understand.
How many of them you watch get killed?
I don't understand this desire to say that you have to have a quarterback sit for a year. I just don't get it.
You don't have to.
That's what I'm saying. Like you definitely have to. Here's my question though: is Frank Reich is this quarterback whisperer, right? So if we're talking about Frank Reich bringing in a bridge quarterback and drafting a quarterback, does that mean everybody's just totally out on Corral? Like he's done? Like,
well, that's the fear.
Because if Frank Reich's a quarterback whisperer and he does that, that means Frank Reich's out on Corral too. That he doesn't like what he sees there either.
Well, he also talked about how much he coveted competition during his press conference. Even if they do draft a quarterback like Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, I tell you what, I fully expect Matt Corral to be a part of a bigger competition this year than whatever the fuck he was a part of with Matt Rhule last year.
We should probably look for any trinket or tidbit of nugget of information as we go forward in the next 7 months, regardless of who we draft. As long as Matt Corral remains on this roster, we should be looking for stories that say, oh, Matt Corral and Frank Reich went on playing golf together today. They've become, we need to look for anything. And that's what Matt Corral, he has the advantage right now of being on the roster.
Right.
So like he could say, I mean, hopefully he could just say this is, look, I ain't done shit in the NFL, but I'm here ready to work. I've been here. I'm hurt. Right. I know that, but I'm trying to get better. You don't like draft whoever you want to draft, bring in whoever you want, but he has the advantage of getting the playbook early.
Not even just that. He is the starting quarterback right now.
Right. Yeah. As we speak. But aren't we gonna feel bad if we drafted a quarterback at 9 if we signed a player like Carr and then we just end up going with Corral anyway?
Well, yeah,
Like,
but
Yes.
that's
By
like,
the way, this
that's
has
the
been
death
what I've
blow
been
for him.
yelling.
I'm sorry, that's the death blow for
This
him.
is what
It's
I've
not
been
gonna.
yelling
If
at
that
the top of my
happens,
lungs.
Matt Corral is not a
that's
Panther.
what I'm saying. If we
we-
bring
if
in a
we-
veteran and draft one, there's no way Corral is the guy. There's no
But
way.
guess what? I'm not going to change my whole strategy just because I'm worried about Cody not being right. You know, I mean, yeah, it kind of sucks. It does. That would kind of suck. And it is the unfortunate part of the world. But if that happens, don't expect Matt Corral to get a real. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you bring in Derek Carr and then you draft a quarterback, it's pretty simple. Those are the guys. And Matt Corral, sorry, bro, you might even just be cut. You might not even get traded. You might just get cut.
He might not
Anyway,
even be a
Dude, if
backup
I'm Matt
anywhere.
Corral, I come. If I'm Matt Corral, I come showing out, letting everybody know, hey,
Yeah.
I'm the fucking shit.
Yeah.
And I don't give a shit if you like it or not. I'm about to show everybody.
Well, he
You
has
ain't
to do
gonna-
that.
I ain't gonna take no for an answer. He does. That's what he's
Kirk
gonna do.
Cousins. Look, Kirk Cousins, 3rd round pick. Or no, he might have been later than that,
4th
actually.
round.
But him
4th
and
round.
they drafted RG3.
In the
Think
same
about
year.
what they did. And I know it probably looked insane at that moment. Imagine if you were a Redskins fan and you had the number 2 overall pick. You picked RG3 and then you got to the 4th round pick and then you picked another fucking quarterback. That would have driven me fucking up the wall.
Not if you didn't have a backup.
Well, and then Cousins, though, ends up having the career.
Yeah.
I mean, the total irony of it. But if we drafted, how about this? If we drafted a quarterback at 9 next year and then we picked a quarterback even in the 6th round, I'd be pissed. I'd be like, get the fuck out of here, bro.
Yeah.
Get the
I
fuck
agree
out.
if we did it because we have a backup
I
at the
feel
very
like
least
that's
in Corral.
similar, though. The number 2 overall pick. Imagine if you were the Texans this year and you drafted Bryce Young and then you picked, I don't know, Holton Ahlers from ECU.
Well, the difference here is they have Davis Mills, who's got game time experience as a backup. Like if they have a backup, then you don't need to. But if they don't have a backup, why not? Go, especially if that's somebody you saw as a potential, for filling a role that you need. I mean, I don't see any problem with that. We draft people all the time in the 5th round just to be backups for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, man. I don't want to do that at the quarterback situation anymore. I'm tired of it. Actually, I don't know. Actually, I'm very interested in that. We'll continue to monitor that. But you're right, Greg. You're asking the right question about Matt Corral.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Cody has a lot of good reasons to take the position that he does about Matt Corral being the pick that they made last year. Like he was there was a reason he was that pick that they traded up for him. And there was also a reason that he fell because he missed the bowl game because of an injury. There are also concerns about him going forward. But if you bring in a veteran and you also draft a quarterback early anywhere, it's just sorry. It's just the unfortunate part of the game. And the also unfortunate part of the game is Steve Wilks was really, really good for this team. I mean, he did it was kind of a Herculean task. And they asked David Tepper when he fired Matt Rhule if what Steve Wilks would have to do to get the job, and he said he's going to look at him, but it's got to be fucking phenomenal. And it was 1 or 2 games short of phenomenal. Steve Wilks did not get the job while Frank Reichs was hired, but D'Amico Ryans is now, it looks like, heading to Houston, which opens up
49.
Very interesting defensive coordinating position at the 49ers. I believe they were courting Vic Fangio, but he has signed with the Miami Dolphins, which I think that's great. I'm all on the Dolphins a lot of ways. I think Aaron Rodgers should go there, but the 49ers are going to be, it looks like, interviewing Steve Wilks. Imagine if the Panthers denied this request. 49ers request interview with Steve Wilks because he's technically still under contract. So he will be interviewing with the 49ers. What a great gig that would be.
Dude, I would love that.
Actually might keep him relevant for a head coach in the future.
Which is what I'm saying. Like, that's he would. I am telling you, like, everybody wants to shit on David Tepper for not hiring him. David Tepper gave him a fucking golden opportunity by being the interim head coach here, and Steve Wilks took advantage of that, and he did everything he could, and now he is being looked at to be the coach of the defense for one of the greatest defensive teams in the entire NFL.
Most talented. Yeah,
one
totally
of the most
talented.
talented. So, I mean, right now, I know everybody is like, I mean, not everybody. There is a large contingent of people that are just really upset that Steve Wilks didn't get this position. Steve Wilks is coming out on top.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say, I mean, if he would have been the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, he certainly would have come more out on top. But I am rooting for him to get, well, I mean, you know what? A head coach is a head coaching position. You just got to take it when you get it. I mean, it's the real deal. It is the premium coaching position on the team. Like, so any head coaching position is technically better than an offensive coordinator position, unless they were just paying you more.
Right.
Then I guess we got to talk money, but in title and prestige, being the head coach is better than being a coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you this is that if you're not going to be the head coach of a bad team, hey, what would be awesome to be an assistant coach, a coordinator of a very good team. You know, so if you're going to land, I feel like he's landing on his feet here.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm rooting for this. I want this to be I want him to get this job. I will be interested in watching how he executes as defensive coordinator. We don't have a terribly large sample set of him being the defensive coordinator. He did it for us for 1 year. Then he went to Arizona and was the head coach. And then I think he took on, I don't think he was a coordinator for the Browns. I think he was then assistants, and then he came to us as a DB's coach the second time.
Yeah.
And his time here in Carolina was, you know what? He did pretty good with a mixed lot, but he had to blitz. Like, we could not get any pressure. You remember he just blitzed and blitzed and blitzed and blitzed. So
I remember it was it was like we had a good defense, but it wasn't great. And
he manufactured it. Yeah.
It was an interesting because I remember that year we weren't like a great defense, and he got hired as that head coach. And I think many of us were a bit surprised when he got the head coach nod after 1 year of defensive coordinator for the Panthers.
I agree. So, good stuff. I don't know if Cody left here. Let me just let me check this one call. Let's see. I don't want to skip this guy. One guy. I've been skipping one person by accident.
My thoughts on the Panthers podcast today. I think that coach was talking directly to Anthony Richardson with the RPOs, getting out of the pocket, being able to teach him how to read the field, make those throws. Definitely think he was talking to Anthony Richardson. I believe we're going to draft him at the 9th pick, and I believe after that we're going to. I think he's going to beef up the defense a little bit more than we expected. That's my take on what he was saying. He did a good job in my eyes, and I like the fact that he was overly hyped about getting started, and the fact that he was around Sam and he knows what it means to keep pounding. That's a little bit. Well, I'm gonna leave that there. But talk to you guys later.
All right, man. Thank you for the call. You know, I think with AR-15, like you guys, a lot of people in the chat, not in this chat, but yeah, they're probably in this chat right now. Anytime I just like pick these people, and I'm not super attached to them, but I like the Levis stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know people say he sucks and that's terrible. And people, anytime I mention Levis, this is kind of like my theory, and it's just a fan theory with very little tape and research, just a highlight video here and there. is I like, oh, what if we had Carr and drafted Levis, and then Levis is the next guy? Like, I could actually see that potentially working. And then people run me out of the building for that shit. They run me out of the building for that. AR-15 at 9 is rich. I think that's rich. And I almost feel like this is there, or I'm going to ask you, Cody, because you are the drafter. Is there a possibility that Levis, I know he is a guaranteed top 10 pick, but like say something weird happened. Could he fall to the second? And really, is AR-15 very good, but should he be a second round
There's
pick?
always somebody.
I
Are we gonna overpay?
feel it's very possible that both of them could end up being second round picks.
Oh, I
You
agree.
know, especially if people continue to sour on Will Levis for reasons we spoke about before. Another
the
thing about
internet?
Anthony Richardson. Well, another thing about Anthony Richardson is he's only been a starter for 1 year. And a lot of that's a red flag to a lot of people. Normally, I mean, ideally, you would want your quarterback to be a 3-year starter. Obviously, that's not going to be everyone. But yeah, only 1 season as a starter for the Florida Gators. In my opinion, they both represent a lot of physical upside. But yeah, you just don't know if you're getting a finished product or not and how long it'll take to develop them. So yeah, I could see them falling in the draft. How far, I don't know.
I want to just, hopefully I can find it super quick. This is it. All right. So I hope that Anthony Richardson, I have nothing against him or for him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have a dog in the fight in this. But it just seems like this is people love to dog on Levis. And then all of a sudden, Richardson could be this diamond in the rough, which is fine. Maybe it's the case. But this is this like right here, this video, people trying to whatever. This video has been floating around right now, and they're like, oh my God, look at his arm strength. That's what okay. I mean, he might do, but like, is this I mean, like, look, this is a very good throw. But I mean, are you just look? I mean, yeah, dude. No, but here, this is the tweet. It is floating. No, this tweet was going around. Oh, where did it go? They were going on. They're like, look at this bazooka. And I was like, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, he might have a great arm, but is that truly? I'll find it in just a second. But you know, I hope he is. I hope he's fantastic.
How big is he?
I think we just want things to happen. That's it.
6'4".
Okay. So honestly, it kind of sounds like he's. I hate to say it, kind of sounds like he's kind of a Cam Newton-esque type player.
Oh, that's where a lot of people compare him to.
Run the ball well, big guy, but has a cannon, but doesn't necessarily throw the ball great. It sounds like a Cam Newton.
Right. That's actually what a lot of people compare him to.
That's a very big, that's a comparison that is pretty accurate. Outside of the success of Cam Newton was one of the greatest college football players in the entire history of this college football.
Yeah.
And so
I think it's a compliment to AR-15 and maybe a little slight to Cam Newton.
Yeah. I think they're talking about traits. Like it's all traits and not, you can't really like, I don't know if you can compare the two in any other way other than physicality, and that's about it.
Okay.
Well, footwork, the footwork kind of from time to time.
Part of the physicality.
What technique? Physicality I define as your ability to do things physical, running, jumping, that kind of stuff, which it does compare to Cam. But a lot of the technical
bowling motherfuckers over like Cam was. Maybe.
Clearly, you haven't seen Anthony Richardson a lot. Or else
like that, like Cam's level of bowling people over? Okay. I mean, that's a big deal.
I mean,
I'm in. If it's comparable to Cam in any way, I'm in.
They're very, very.
I think that's all I got. I think we've talked enough about Frank Reichs, the kind of things I thought were interesting about him. I do think it's very important to think. I don't think his ego is going to be an issue, and I think working with Scott Fitterer and him, I think that it's going to be an easy relationship, which And I think Scott Fitterer is coming from one that was probably more difficult. So for him, he's like, I got this, bro. And Fitterer is probably saying the same thing. He's like, I was dealing with fucking Matt Rhule before. So I'm ready. So these guys seem to relax. We'll look for some of the things that we talked about. We've argued a ton tonight. We talked about really the NFL news already. You know, we've talked about that. We talked about Brian Burns. Did we miss anything on y'all's hearts about the Carolina Panthers? And then let's go to these ice up picks.
I don't think so, man. It's been an eventful day. I'm tired. I'm happy that the search is over.
Yeah, you were big.
Yeah, that we get to move on, and that now we know kind of the direction that we're moving in. And yeah, man.
Mark this down. If Frank Reich wins the games that you guys said he should win, right? Somebody said 10 wins on the call. If he wins 10 wins, go ahead and write this down. David Tepper is going to be working for that new stadium. First 10-win season that happens, I promise you, new stadium talks will happen. That's all I got to say.
Yep.
Can we go to these ice up picks, guys?
Let's do it.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
The Ice Up segment is the longest running segment on the longest running Panthers podcast. There's a great storyline that has been surrounding the Carolina Panthers new hire and Frank Reich being the first quarterback to throw a touchdown pass for the Carolina Panthers. And now he's coming back around. And guess what always comes back around in every episode of the C3 Panthers podcast? That is the Ice Up picks. It's our homage to Steve Smith, where we tell someone to ice up, toughen up, to get it together. Everybody is fair game. Who is ready to go to the mattresses?
Yeah, I'll go first just because I don't have a big one. I normally have a funny clip or whatever. Today I don't. Some of you are familiar with Mr. Beast on YouTube.
Oh, yep.
He
lives in Greenville, North Carolina, by the way.
Shit. Yeah, North Carolina guy.
My town. He lives in my town.
He put out a video just recently of curing 1,000 people's blindness, because half of the blind people in the world, all it takes is a 10-minute surgery and you can literally correct their blindness. The problem is most here in America don't have access to that kind of healthcare to be able to afford that kind of procedure, even though they might need it. So Mr. Beast makes a video where he literally pays for 1,000 people to have their eyes repaired. And it was incredible. It was a great thing for him to do. But the internet, of course, is bitching at him. They're whining and moaning, saying that the only reason that Mr. Beast even did this was because he can use it to profit and monetize for views and put them on YouTube and basically use these people to, make himself richer. And my thing is this: it wasn't getting done any other way. So how the fuck are you going to blame this guy for doing something that the healthcare systems have been failing to do forever? I mean, this man is living and people want to find something to bitch about. Dude, the internet is like a cancer. People have grown accustomed to finding the negative aspects of everything in the world. That's why you just have to say, fuck them. Applause to Mr. Beast for doing the right thing. And to all the pitiful idiots that are shitting on him, dude, ice up, son.
There is, I agree 100%. Because number one, there is no such thing as selfless acts. I am telling you with certainty, every act that we do, it's if it's not intended for for praise from somebody else, it's meant to make you feel good. That is not selfless, right? That means you're doing it because you want to feel like you're a good person. There's axe right there, right? So number one, no matter anything we do in life, we do it for a reason to benefit ourselves, right? It doesn't remove the fact that you're helping people that are actually in need. Number two is Mr. Beast can make money, that exact same amount of money, doing any fucking video he wants. So you're acting like him doing that video, like he could have not done that and made the exact same amount of money on a different video that had nothing to do with helping 1,000 people see again. He could have done the exact same thing. So absolutely, anybody who's acting like Mr. Beast is just trying to profit off of people's inability to get these surgeries, like it's absolutely hysterical. It's just
even
hysterical.
if he is trying to profit, thank God you're profiting in a positive way. I think this is that people's concern, like you said, the internet was a cancer, Cody, and this kind of thing is, I just think that it's misdirected and the outrage is just slightly off. Like we're aiming down a target and we know something's down there, but we're a little off. And Mr. Beast isn't the target to hit in this one, right? The other thing is that if you want to be critical in that way, why aren't we all giving $5? If we all just give $5 tonight, we could cure 1 million people. You know what I'm saying? So why don't we do it? And I don't say us on this podcast, but like it's like we can't talk shit and then not do shit.
Right.
That's one thing. And the other thing is that ultimately doesn't that just show that like our ideals about like where money goes in medicine, maybe we just have misdirected our motives. That's not Mr. Beast's deal.
And aren't the people who are commenting on this doing the exact same thing they're complaining about? They're commenting on a social media platform attached to a huge person who gets a lot of stats just so people can see them.
Right.
And like, you're doing the
attract
exact same thing
attention.
you're complaining
Attract
about.
attention.
Yeah.
They're actually worse because they actually didn't do anything good for somebody.
Yeah, they're out here making videos to try to make money off of YouTube,
profit,
so that they can just be a YouTube famous. No other reason than a completely selfish act, and that is to do things that's going to just benefit you and nobody else.
Yeah, agree. Ice up to those motherfuckers. Mr. Beast lives in Greenville, North Carolina, my town right now. He just started a partnership with East Carolina University, by the way, Cody. I know you love to shit on my little school that's bigger than Clemson in enrollment. But he actually just started a program for creators to go and get a certificate at the university.
For YouTube creators?
Yeah, like for any creators. Like,
oh, dude, that guy's awesome. I have no problem with
from
Mr.
my
Beast.
town, dude.
He's
Instead of
awesome.
this is a great thing. You know what? I'm not going to say where I teach at or where I'm affiliated at because I try to separate some of these things. But he told his mom gave him an ultimatum when he graduated high school. She said, "You either got to go get a job, or you got to go to the community, go to college." And so he fake went to college.
Yeah.
And he went and made videos all day instead in his car. Fake went to the school I teach at. How about that? He's a fake alumni. Can I go real quick?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
my ice up picks. I know you guys have been mad at me all night for overdoing stuff, and I'm gonna keep you mad. Real quick is I don't know if this one's real. I don't trust anything on the internet, and since it's a screenshot, I don't know if I can really trust it. So I haven't been able to verify this story. But this made me laugh. Is Arlisha Boykins, a 22-year-old former assistant coach on the Churchland JV girls basketball team, impersonated a 13-year-old player and went and played in this middle school or high school game.
What?
Yeah, so like that is I don't know if it's true or not, but when I was a young kid, there was this big story about this Puerto Rican kid that they didn't have a birth certificate, and he won the World Series, the Little League World Series, and he turned out like he was like 17. And they I'm always intrigued by those stories. This one, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this is more, I like those cringe
I've
get
seen this. I saw this the other day.
So actually, this is not special to me. Other than this, is somebody put out justified or attempted murder, and I don't even think that's a legitimate conversation. I think it's just justified. This jackass, actually, I should say, this individual is talking junk. I don't know if can you guys hear that?
Yeah.
No. Watch.
Oh my god! Whoa. What the?
Watch this. Watch this. Is so this guy comes and swings at this Taco Bell employee. The employee slams him down. Look, his friend drug him over. He's dead, he's in intensive care or something.
He's not. There's blood on the floor. I don't know if he's dead.
I think he went to intensive care. But then his buddy gets mad. He's like, "What'd you do?" He's like, "Dude, I just fucking fended myself off."
I mean, yeah, he rushed him.
Look at how he's pulling him back too.
I know. And then the guy went, so that one is that fuck around, find out is kind of the rule that people are talking about. And this one makes me laugh. My last one, trophy hunter eaten alive by brother of the lion he shot and killed for an Instagram post.
Yeah, I saw that.
So this guy went big game hunting. He's such a fat piece of lard. So it's like actually the irony, the least athletic, badass person in the world kills the most badass, one of the most badass animals. Oh, I don't have it up. Did I? Did I stop sharing it? Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
Sorry. Look at this real quick. Is this guy right here kills this big lion, and then the brother of this Scar. So he killed. Who was Simba's dad?
Mufasa,
he killed Mufasa, and then Scar it comes and eats this dude alive.
Well,
So,
that lion's not going to be needing to eat for a while.
No, he's not. The whole pride is full to them. I say ice up.
Ice up.
You go ahead, Greg.
Okay,
Go.
I got two quick ones here. I got a video here I want to show. I love sports. I can watch just about any kind of sport, but for me, my whole life, it's been basketball and football. Like, I just love watching basketball and football. I'm a huge NBA fan, like big college basketball fan. There's some things I've never seen happen, though. And last week, during a college basketball game, I didn't actually see this, but I heard about it. So let me share here real quick. There's an Uber Eats driver who just
Did he deliver food to the coach or something? That would be awesome.
This guy literally just walks onto the court, and I don't know who he's trying to deliver to. Now I come to find out later this is a prank, which I'm kind of icing him up for doing this prank because it's kind of messed up anyway. While somebody's trying to perform in a game, to do this. But let me. Oh, I didn't share the audio, but it's okay. Y'all see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So check out this Uber Eats driver down here in the bottom corner, right over here. He's just walking on the court in the middle of the game, walking on the court to deliver something to somebody. And it turns out that it was a prank. It was a bunch of students who organized this, and it wasn't really a delivery, which is dumb.
They
anyway.
gave it to they order it for the ref?
I guess. I don't know. But I'm icing up them for that because, this means something to some people. And I get it's a funny prank, but this does mean something to some people, and you're messing a lot of stuff up. That's just taking it a little too far for me. Messing with an actual game. People's careers could be involved in this. Not necessarily this game, but what's going on there. So I'm icing them up. And then, Tony, I wanted to ask you a question. Aren't you a huge Tiger King fan?
I'm gonna say, yeah, man. I enjoyed the show.
You enjoyed it?
Yeah.
Why haven't I heard anything about them finding the husband alive?
Yeah.
Because
they found the husband
it was
alive.
a side story in the whole show. It wasn't really.
That was a pretty major part of that show.
What, that Carol Baskins was a killer?
Carol Baskins killed her husband.
Yeah, I mean, it was an entire song.
Yeah, it was like that was his whole thing.
Killed her.
I think it's interesting that he faked his death to get away from her.
That was bad. It was bad. Yeah.
I mean, he's the one that's been missing. He didn't come forward.
Dude, he's been living his best life.
I know. He's like, I got away from them fucking weirdos.
You know what's even better is I'm pretty sure there was life insurance on him. Carol will have to pay that back.
I'm sure that Netflix.
Fuck Carol Baskins. Yeah, I know. Them motherfuckers, you don't want to hang out with any of them. They're all like if you want to hang out with them, then you go ahead and get rid of your meth pants on.
Dude, I like that Doc Antle guy. I don't care what no one says.
Is he the one that had all the children?
No, he's the
He
guy
hired
that
all
had
the.
like, no, he had 3 different wives or whatever.
Yeah, he like
And
courted these little 15-year-olds. Oh, it's fucking strange. The whole thing was fucked up.
no, they weren't 50, but whatever. That guy's.
All right. CK.
Yeah, so I won't go into like a lot of detail about a story, but I'll just say as a general overview, you know, there's some things going on with my family, not my like direct family, but you know, brothers and whatnot, that you know have to do with family court and the complete and utter disrespect family courts have against males. Like it is unbelievable. Like there is not a single moment, like there is not a single family court in this United States that has not infringed on men's rights, like constitutional right, almost every single one of them that they can. Like it's not even debated. They won't even deny it. And so what I have been happy to see lately is there has been a lot more like content driven around what you actually see from some toxic women who will try to get child support from men who actually have custody of their own children. Like women still go and get like this, just these incredibly vapid and just clearly shallow women that just have no intention of being a good human or a good parent to their child, and their only goal is to get money, right? And unfortunately the courts all too often grant that money unwarranted and without any evidence to show that there's a reason that they need to be provided that money, right? Especially when men want to have joint custody or a full custody of that child, right? So the fact is, right now, I'm not going to make an argument about abortion, but the whole point of, you know, my body, my choice. Well, there have been men who've wanted abortion, but the women went through with it. They should have the right not to pay child support, right? Right? If you believe that, right, you have the right to say you don't want the child. If I want the child, but my say has no say. I can't force you to have a baby because it's your right, right? But you're telling me because you've forced me to have a child that I have to pay you child support for the next 18 years because of something that I didn't want, right? So even in that case, I think it's a shitty situation, and I'm not advocating for that. I think that everybody should be held responsible for their actions. But at the end of the day, the absolute travesty that is men's rights when it comes to family courts. Again, my own just some stuff going on in my life, not just like women trying to go child support. I'm talking about child protective services taking children with no evidence whatsoever there's anything going on, like just literally a whisper of something, and they'll come and take a child away from a loving family and a father's where statistics say children who grow up with fathers are far better in society than if they were in a single mother home. And that's not to knock single mothers, but when you look at the 79% of serial killers come from single mother homes, 75% of rapists come from single mother homes, right? This is not something that you can say is just opinion. There are statistics and facts that back all of this up. And the fact that men are just completely disregarded in our society of you know, family court, parental, just being able to have joint custody of a child is so rare in today's society. It's just absolutely asinine. And so I just want to say ice up to the women who are trying to take children away from a loving father, and the courts that absolutely have no right to do these things and continue to act for their own well-being financially. By the way, they're not doing it because they want to do it for the children. They're doing it for a financial benefit. And there's plenty of evidence in the judicial system to back that up.
Mm-hmm.
Ice up. The number for the longest running Panthers podcast is 252-228-5098. You can call in later for next week with the Friday free for all rocking. Big cult following there. One of our biggest years yet to come, whereas we approach 5,000 subscribers. Please subscribe to the podcast. Check us out on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher. Even if you are still watching on YouTube right now, just subscribing there, giving a little feedback on that on those platforms helps us reach more people as we have reached your ears for 3 hours and 50 minutes tonight. I do it with my man Cody Lashley, who has pulled like an 8-hour streaming day today.
Dude, your boy's been on one, you know.
Yep. Thank you, brother.
Out here putting out content for this beautiful fandom that we have, man. This C3 fan base grows all the time. By the way, we're damn close. Thousands of that's fucking
So close to 5,000.
okay. Hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell. Every single time we go live, man. You can find me on Twitter at Cody Lack, CODYLAC. Find all my written work on drafttech.com. And every Friday, 7 p.m., Friday free for all, baby. Come be a part of this action.
I want all of the listeners to know that they are the show. You guys are the show. We are the players together. Frank Reichs said it's a player's game. Well, we're the same as you. So I want to hear your ideas for content going forward. What you guys think would be fun to do as fans. And I want you to go check my man CK out. How can they find you?
You can find me on all social medias at CodizzleAllen. And obviously we're going to be here and we're going to be looking at trying to drop additional types of content. So be on the lookout for that. Some top 5 type content stuff to kind of give you our opinion on things like who are the best Carolina Panthers players in the history of the team. Maybe top 5 draft picks that we would like to
free
see
agents. We got a lot.
Yeah,
we got a lot coming.
So we're going to be working on some content here over the next few weeks. So be looking out for that. And we're going to make sure those are highly produced. So keep an eye out.
Greg, how can they find you?
Check me out at the BatDaddy52 on Twitter is my personal handle, or I have a show on Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, right at the Friday Free for All, called Geeks Chasing Squirrels Across the Multiverse. We're talking about all kinds of books, comics, media, television shows, audio dramas, anything out there that's cool or fun to listen to. Tony, I think you might be coming on this weekend to talk about some watchers.
I'm definitely trying to make it happen, bro. I'm ready.
It's no big deal. We got watchers.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it happen. I think it's gonna happen. I'm I just got to confirm with my wife, but it's in my plans.
Okay.
Got a lot to say about that stuff. What a great show! It's so fun. I love. Look, go check out Geeks Chasing Squirrels Through the Multiverse, because it's just like what we all do, other than talk about the Carolina Panthers. And there's a reason this show goes on for 3 hours and 50 minutes. It's because Tony won't shut up. Because y'all are my friends.
Yeah.
This is what I want. Now I just got to go home.
We're friends.
Yeah, you were my friends. Let's get out of here, Cody. Look, Cody's on mute, and thank God, or else we would have been broken up right then, whatever he said. Take us out of here.
C3 Panther Nation, until next time, keep pounding.